Hello everyone and welcome back to GPVWC. This is round 7 of the series and the first after the first break of the year. It is fantastic to be back, especially for myself as I unfortunately had to miss Indy. But we have stayed in the Northern Hemisphere in North America with the circuit Gilles Villeneuve on the Ile Notre Dame in Montreal in Canada. This is a fantastic circuit situated in a river, but I think the river has made its way onto the circuit for the day. It is very wet out there and that's going to make it nice and slippery for qualifying, but it looks as if we've got dry tyres on actually for one of the Edge esports drivers. So a mix of strategies which could play out over the course of the whole day. This is actually the end of the practice session, so we're just waiting for the start of qualifying. And talking me through qualifying will be my co-commentator Ed Hunter. Ed, hello, how are you?
Welcome back, Caitlin. It's great to be back after a break with GPV Super League, of course. It's the top tier. It's where all the action is, and we've got our still incredibly close after 6 rounds, our championship fight between the likes of Jan Krankvist and Loic Moynier as well. But you will, of course, notice, if I'm not mistaken, I think Tom Stevens is having to miss this one because he's going to see, Gunther Steiner, isn't it? He's giving a talk. His mum's, Tom Stevens' mum has booked in for him to see as a little early birthday present, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they've got somebody else in. They've got Luke Mitchell in, 2023 Formula Sprint 2 champion, of course, who currently competes in Super Lights. But there you can see the standings right in front of you. 8 points between Grankvist and Moynier. and that could well be the one to watch. Although you've got drivers like Williams, Frelick, Tyne that have threatened to break into that top 3 throughout the season, and are just a little bit shy of doing so. Williams probably the most consistent of that trio, and then we got Milnek, of course, who so brilliantly won last time out at Indianapolis, who's been on a real upward trajectory lately, and could well spring more surprises.
Yeah, and I still would say don't count Tom Stevens out for the championship. We're not even half the way through yet. And yes, he's missing a race, but remember, Loic Meunier's already missed a race, and he is still in 2nd position. So it is still absolutely anyone's game, especially since the championship has not really gone anyone's direction. It looked at the start of the season as if Jan Granqvist was going to start running away from it. And then as you can see there, round 4 and round 5, 0 points. He hit the wall in both of those races. It can absolutely happen to anyone. Other drivers have popped up for 1 or 2 races and then just kind of disappeared for the rest of it. And it's going to be a season of consistency for the drivers who end up on top. All right, qualifying has now begun. Jan Granqvist heads out onto the circuit for his first out lap. It'll be his first flying lap when he makes it back around. You'll notice that he is on intermediate tyres. There seems to be a mix of inters and full wets, except Pascal Pollens is currently being shown as being on those soft tyres. I believe that he was the Edge esports driver who was on soft tyres in that practice session as well. So Pollens still sticking with it. Clearly there's a bit of a dry line out there, and so long as he sticks to that, he's okay. The difficulty is, of course, if he puts one wheel outside of that dry line, then he is in a whole world of trouble, Ed.
Yeah, it's a very knife edge sort of stuff, and of course the track's going to evolve as this session goes on, especially if it stays dry. The sun keeps drying the track throughout the session. We're going to see those on wets potentially switch to inters, and those on inters will be watching the progress of Pollens very, very keenly, because if Pollens starts gaining 3, 4, 5 seconds a lap on everyone else, that will be the signal that it's time to switch to dries. But of course, for the first runs, the temptation is play it safe, stick on the inters or the full wets, and then just play it cool from there.
Indeed. We do have a couple of driver changes to update you of. As we've said, Tom Stevens is missing this round, and so he is being replaced by the very capable Luke Mitchell. Luke has raced in 7 GPWC Super League races before with a best result of 11th place, and that came last year at, wait for it, Canada. So you wait to see what Luke Mitchell can do. If he can score points here in 2024, then what can he do with a little bit more practice? I would not count him out for a top 10, especially in this THR team, which we know is so competitive. Mitchell currently on track, as we can see on our screen. As you said, Ed, he is also the 2023 Formula Sprint 2 champion, and he has some podiums in Formula Sprint 1 to his name as well. I've also noticed that Xavi Rose is going to be making just his 2nd start in Super League. He, of course, was at the USA last time out, but he is here once again, alongside Olivier Soltero by the look of it. Let me just get
Soltero.
Oscar. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. Oscar Soltero. Let me just get his statistics up.
Well, I can tell you something. He was doing Super Lights the other day, and he won in his first appearance there. So he's very much a man of the moment. Yeah, it was a brilliant race.
Goodness me. Okay, well, I actually can't get his stats up because on my screen he is yet to be confirmed, which doesn't make much sense.
It's been a busy week for Oscar. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, obviously he is here in qualifying. One name I am very interested in is Jorge Martinez in the Spark racing car. Now, I did not know that he even competed in R Factor 2. I've come across Martinez on just one occasion before, and that was in an iRacing event, which he won. That was at the Nürburgring last year in the iRacing Grand Prix Open Tour. So how that will translate to R Factor 2 is yet to be seen. We know that he's very good in Grand Prix racing cars. But yeah, Jorge Martinez is a name that I was absolutely not expecting to see here today. And he is in Vincent Gutt's seat there in the Spark racing team. So best of luck to Jorge Martinez on what will absolutely be his GPVWC Super League debut.
Yeah, not easy conditions to make your first competitive GPV session in as well. So it'll be interesting to see Ian, these drivers with lots of experience from iRacing instead, of course, all these other sims, how they get on. Because as we see there, Marquinhos goes way too deep, realizes he wasn't going to make the last chicane, and neatly avoids the wall of champions by cutting the chicane and carrying on. As we see at the top of the timing screens, it's Alessandro Maggio and another of our drivers competing for the first time this season. That's Brazilian Lucas Murno, who you might recognize from I believe he competes in, is it Formula Sprint 1 and Super Lights as well, I think he also competes in. So brilliant to see him unleashing that pace there. Green Stripes have really been up against it. They've been the underdogs, I said in my sort of season review after the first 6 races, the half-term report. And I said that they were one of the teams that were really, really struggling and had hoped to be a little bit further out the grid this season. But yeah, great to see Lucas Murno coming in and instantly lifting the spirits of Christoph Lichtenstein and the entire team.
Yeah, and watch this lap time as well. This is purple in the first 2 sectors, and this could well put him to the top of the times. He's only 35 thousandths of a second off as it stands. Massively hops over the curbs, little twitch on the exit, but you can get away with some mistakes in these conditions, providing it's not too bad. Look at that! He goes to the top of the times by over 3/10 of a second. Last time's Win and Win It goes to 3rd and gets demoted by Lehoux and Grankvist, so the times are tumbling. The track, I think, is getting better, getting a little bit drier, but Lucas Murno at the top of the times as it stands, and he's been having a wild season. It's his first season in GPVWC as a whole, and he's competed in, I think, every series. He's competed in Academy, Formula Sprint 2, Formula Sprint 1. Those results weren't actually that impressive, with all due respect. But then he turned up in Super Lights and won at the US Grand Prix. And I have to say, I didn't see that race, but I wish that I had. He was also 2nd in Canada last time out. And what his results tell me is that he's probably the kind of driver who gets better and better the more power and the more downforce you give him. So look out for Lucas Murno here in what will be his Super League debut. He could be a real contender, and he's one of 2 drivers making their outright Super League debuts today, Ed.
Yes, and yeah, that win, I do remember watching that win, and also his race on Tuesday here, where he narrowly missed out on a victory to Soltero of all people. So yeah, it's our 2 debutants, well, 1 and 2 in Super Lights, of course. They've got that early promotion as Maciej Milnek in the HRT briefly goes 2nd fastest before being beaten by Lehoux, and then they're all beaten by Stefan Ruhl, the man who was really struggling up to this point in the season. He's gone 2/10 faster than anybody else in that final sector. So the track, it's getting faster and faster and faster as we're shifting from inter territory towards dry tire surely in these next 8 minutes.
Yeah, 4 retirements in a row now from Stefan Ruhl. He's got to break that momentum. Some of them haven't been his fault. He had a technical issue, I think, in the USA and also potentially even Japan earlier this year. But I think he has also made some mistakes. You can see now there are drivers on both soft tyres and intermediate tyres still. Moritz Kropp out there on medium tyres, but we shouldn't pay too much attention to Moritz in this session. He unfortunately has a 30-place grid penalty from the last race, so he will be starting at the back no matter what. I'm going to correct myself quickly. There are 3 drivers making their Super League debut here today because of Lucas Murno, Oscar Soltero, and of course Jorge Martinez. So that's 3 drivers, and we're still actually missing 2 cars out there because we have 28 on track with 30 who could turn up today. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if anyone comes in from the R&D test. Ooh. And there's a lap from Ruben Machedi. The track continues to get cleaner and cleaner, drier and drier. Remember, at the start of the session, the drivers weren't even in the 115s. Now we have Ruben Machedi in a 114.8. He's the first driver to do it in under 115, and he won't be the last because look at this, Tomasz Vok on a flyer as well, and Xavi Ros goes to the top of the times in just his 2nd Super League qualifying appearance.
Yeah, Xavi Ros, of course, did actually set the fastest lap, funnily enough, at Indianapolis. Despite getting involved in the turn 1 contact, he didn't have the cleanest of debuts. But yeah, certainly the young Spaniard, pretty quick and exciting to see him at the top of the timing, even if that's about to be beaten by Thomas Vac himself on the soft tyres. Rocketing along, we see Hygo Puma's been lighting up the timing screen as well, and now Jan Grankvist goes fastest in the first sector, but Vac takes provisional pole.
Couple of seconds ago, we were talking about drivers getting under 115. Now we've got drivers in the 113s. 113.790 from Tomasz Vok. This is going to be a fascinating session because unless it starts to rain again, it's going to basically be whoever crosses the line last gets the fastest time. This is really, really interesting stuff. Only the top 3 separated by a second at this point in time, but that's because only the top 3 have set times recently. Now with Jan Grankvist, he's going to come through and he's going to be the fastest person of all, but how long will that last? Grankvist crosses the line, it's a 1:13.4. We've now got drivers under 1:13.5 for the first time in the session. He leads it by 3.5 tenths. Jarl Tyen looks like he might be about to go even quicker still, but if it starts raining, then it's going to be completely frozen. The order will be frozen there, and we'll have a very jumbled up order with people up the front who maybe shouldn't be, people at the back who maybe shouldn't be, and it's all the luck of the draw and about putting yourself on track where you need to be. Loic Mounier second, so the championship leaders now are first and second, but only briefly. Jarl Tyen now goes third.
Yep, there we go. So the times are going to keep tumbling and tumbling. We've seen Chris Shepard and Sven Schubert get the Red Archer and the Fraser Tartan into the top 10 there with some good laps. Marquinez also in the top 9 as Hoekstra goes 6th fastest. That's a man that I gave the dreaded 1 out of 9 rating in my report. I was particularly harsh on Hoekstra, so I'm really glad to see him prove me wrong almost immediately after that was published. So good on Vopke. As we see Jan going into the pits now. 4.5 minutes left to go. He clearly wants some new tyres.
Indeed. So Jan Grankvist into the pits, and they'll probably have time for just one more run after this. Unless, of course, you go out, set one lap, come back in again. Sometimes when it's damp or drying, you see drivers as Maciej Winnick goes to the top with a 1:13.222. Stefan Röhrl coming out of the corner. Are we going to have HRTs first and second? He crosses the line. We don't, because Mark Schluter goes to the top, and then Röhrl, and then Alex Maggio. This is fantastic stuff, and we're now under the 1:13s. Maggio at the top from Mounier and Fletcher as it stands. Into the pits comes Sven Schubert. I was going to say normally when it dries, you see drivers putting in enough fuel to do a couple of laps at once because you don't want to be caught out when the track is at its best. You want to have that option at least. And we've gained another couple of drivers. Vin Glenn, is that another debutant? I know the name. I think he's done other Super League races in the past. I don't think he's done Super League.
I think he did one Super League. It was Brazil, end of last season. I think it might have been for Green Stripes, if memory serves. Don't think he finished, but yeah, Vin had certainly had some good. No, I think he just missed out on the final point. He did, yeah. He finished 16th. I think Jeffrey Fournier nicked the final point from right at the end. It was Xavi Ross has gone 4 tenths faster than Maggio in the first sector. So the track is continuing to ramp up, but there's still, it's lethal offline a little bit, especially at the hairpin there, as Xavi very clearly demonstrates. Vin Glenn has shown up with 3 minutes to go on the full wet tyres, so he will need to put the dries on pretty sharpish if he wants to be anywhere near the point scorers at the end of this. Oh, nearly in the wall, and now he's going to set the time.
He's about to go near the top. He goes across the line, and he goes first. Xavi Roos leads it with 3 minutes to go. Now, we shouldn't get too excited. That can still go the opposite way. Tomasz Vok is coming up to the line now. This reminds me of Canada. Sorry, this reminds me of Japan last year.
Of course it does.
This reminds me of Canada. We're right here. This reminds me of Japan last year, where the times were tumbling and drivers who were caught out at the end, who messed up their last laps, ended up right at the back of the grid, no matter how well they'd done towards the start of the qualifying session. Tomasz Vok will probably get one more try as well. How he would hate it if it started to rain now. By the way, the other driver who joined into the session quite late was Jukka-Pekka Laulu, one of the other Super Venturi cars, along with Jan Grankvist. And we'll have to see. He's already got up to speed, like he's in 18th position, but we'll have to see if he's able to get a competitive lap time in at the end when the track is at its best. Stefan Röhrl here looks as if he's on for an improvement. There's less than 2 minutes to go in the session, so if he has enough fuel for it, he can do 2 more flying laps. I expect he'll do 1 more at least. Across the line he goes. Stefan Röhrl goes P1 and is the first driver under 1:12. It's a 1:11.9, and he's already got turns 1 and 2 a little bit wrong, so I don't think this next lap will be a representative one. Lucas Murno could have his time in the sun now, ironically, since the sun has not yet properly come out. Out of the final corner he goes, past the dreaded Wall of Champions, more properly known as the Quebec Wall, and he goes to the top. Lucas Murno on his Super League debut has at least a chance of starting from the very front of the grid, Ed.
Yeah, brilliant middle sector by Ruel, but Murno absolutely aced the final sector, 28.385 as Zeeuw goes third fastest. There we go. We've seen him qualify brilliantly multiple times near the front row this season. But of course, the real test for Zeeuw is can he keep this up come the race? But a minute to go, and it could be absolutely anybody on pole, Caitlin. This is incredibly exciting.
I'm a bit worried about Carlos Martin. Oh, he's still in the pits. He's not going to get a lap. I wonder if he crashed because he's not been out of the pits in a long time. And he is the winner of this race last year. So I was very much expecting Martin to have a little bit of a better day than that. Moritz Kropp we knew was going to be starting near the back because he had a grid penalty. So that's not too disastrous for him.
Here.
And look at Mark Schluter now. And of course, as you say, Sergio Fletcher. Lots of people looking quicker as they come up towards the line with only a few seconds left. Pascal Pollens goes third. Here comes the other Edge Esports car. Mark Schluter goes second. Both of the Edge Esports in the top four, but not for long because Sergio Fletcher goes to the top by over half a second. Surely that's a competitive time for pole position. Chris Shepherd is second. Alex Zeeuw goes second instead. Zeeuw is second and loses out on pole by less than a tenth of a second, and he will not get another chance. Who will get another chance? Soltero goes third, and he pulls off now. I thought he was going to get another chance, but I don't think he has the fuel for it. Stefan Rolt could go pole here. Stefan Rolt down the back straight. This is still anyone's game. Anyone who's still on a flying lap could take pole position here, and there's no saying which way it's going to go. Stefan Rolt, the 2021 Super League champion, comes through the final couple of corners, past the champion's wall, which he does not hit, goes up to the line. Is this pole? It is for Stefan Rolt by less than 300ths of a second, but that's still provisionally. And Mathieu Winnick goes to the top. HRTs are first and second. Now watch Xavi Rose in just his second GPVWC Super League qualifying. Could he steal it away? Pollens goes fourth. Here comes Rose out of the final corner. Where's he going to go? He comes up to the line. Machete goes second. Watt goes second. Murno third. Rose goes first. What a lap that is. Alessandro
Maggio's going to steal it.
Out of the final corner. Panzer fourth. And Maggio goes first instead. Oh my goodness me. Alessandro Maggio, who took the fastest time back in Australia, who took a pole position a few races later, I can't remember where, now goes pole again. And is that it? Is everyone across the line? I think they might be. What an incredible end to this qualifying session. A track that just kept getting faster and faster. And who would have predicted that front row? Alessandro Maggio on pole position alongside Xavi Rose in just his second Super League qualifying. Ed, what do you make of that?
Oh, my head's still spinning from that. But I think Maggio was literally the very, very last one over the line. So he could not have timed that better. A lot of people were trying to time it. And I think one or two of them may have gone either slightly too early or in some cases slightly too late and didn't quite get the lap in. But yeah, Maggio was absolutely brilliant out there. But we can't forget the likes of Xavi Ross as well. Lucas Murno in his first Super League appearance in P7. He'll be annoyed that he wasn't quite in the top 5 there, but that's still an absolutely spectacular effort. And then the HRTs and Sergio Fletcher, we thought had it nailed on to pole position at various points. They're 9th, 10th, and 12th.
I swear I said Stefan Rod's lap would be competitive for pole. He is 10th. That just shows you how things can change in these sessions. Maggio's on pole, followed by Rose, Grankvist third, Wok fourth, then Frelich, Pansar, Murno, Machete, Winnick, and Rural. And this will just show you how the things changed in that session, because all of these drivers here, I swear we were hyping them all up at certain points, going, could they be on for pole? And then they've dropped down the order. Pascal Pollens 11th, then Sergio Fletcher, Jarl Tyen, Mark Schluter, Alex Zeeuw, Sven Schubert, Oscar Soltero, Chris Shepherd, Hugo Poom, and Luke Mitchell, 20th place, replacing Tom Stevens for this race. Then Jokepe Kalado, who joined in late. Actually, not a bad job to go 21st in those conditions. Riot Kilk 22nd, then Zolt Shukes, Loic Mounier, Wopke Hoekstra. Remember when we were so excited for Wopke, who got right up to 6th position? He's now down to 25th. That just shows the importance of timing. Ben Glenn, you're absolutely right. This is his second Super League start, not his first. He will start from 26th. Then it's Isfang Singel. Jorge Martinez, who I think crashed out in that qualifying, will start from 28th for his Super League debut. Then it's Moritz Kropp, who will start from the very back, actually, due to a penalty. And Carlos Martin will start just ahead of him after, I believe, crashing out on his own qualifying attempt. So the winner of this Grand Prix a year ago is unfortunately confined to the very last row of the grid. Okay, so to give us a little bit of time to calm down after that qualifying session, we're going to take a look back quite a long time actually to Indianapolis, because we've had a break since then, and remind ourselves of what happened when Super League raced last time out.
Here they come. 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And we are underway here in Indianapolis, and it's a brilliant start for Moinier from second on the grid. Camerawork hold on to pole position. Look out for Simon Frelick trying to go through the middle, deciding to stick back to the racing line. Oh, huge move for Moinier, and he clatters into Moritz Kropp. They both take to the grass, and Frelick will take the lead. That's exactly what the championship leader did not need to do there. Moritz Kropp is now side by side with Jan Grankvist, and it's the Fraser Tartan that, oh no, he's lost it from 3 and 4, and Kropp's on the grass again. He needs to make sure he doesn't collect anyone. Oh, he takes out the THR. Oh dear, I think that was Tom Stevens that's been bulldozed there. Oh, Stevens is on fire.
Yeah, so Mounier has the inside line. He's going to try and brake as late as possible, but that by himself, he loses rear end traction completely. Moritz Kropp would have had little to no knowledge of that. And then the contact took place, wheel to wheel. Here's a look at Moritz is on board. And all of a sudden, he's just taking his normal apex. He's leaving the racing room, and then all of a sudden, there's a Spark Racing Team car just sliding into him. So racing incident, no doubt in my mind, but Moritz couldn't have done anything about that, no matter what. It's just this moment here. He's watching out for Grankvist, and then he loses rear end traction. He has to try and balance spinning the car around. But if he came to a complete stop, he would have just been last anyway. So I really don't know what else Moritz could have done.
You can see just in front Maggio that was just ahead. I think it was so lucky not to be taken out. You can see there Stevens was just so unlucky, had nowhere to go, and I think he even gets collected by somebody else. As here we go, we run on board with right kilt. Yeah, one of the road to formulas, I believe that's Vac going very wide through turn 2, and then this is where they start to go 3 wide. And then right kilt just dropped it on his own. Panzar goes into the back of it. Both Adonis in the gravel. What a horrible start for both Panzar and Williams.
Well, let's see what Maggio can do on the oval.
Oh, here we go then. Moinier still with a very damaged car. Look at the steering. It's crabbing in a straight line on that Spark Racing car. Now we see Sven Schubert. It's his turn with the DRS to pick off Moinier. And you can really feel the pain for Moinier all the way down the straight. Oh, double moves going on. Schubert is passing Maggio for 6th, but also Ruhl picks off Moinier for 8th at the same time there. Sergio Fletcher under real pressure from Yaltan. The winner in Saudi Arabia uses DRS to get alongside, and that's a crucial move for Yaltan.
So let's see what happened here on the replay. He's in the wake there of the Fraser Tartan. Oh, he had to take a fading action.
But look at this. He closes so much on the brakes with the DRS. And it was almost pure luck and a little bit of skill and good instincts from Maggio to avoid a more serious collision. So Ruhl goes through. Now Milnek is going for the lead with the DRS, and Simon Frelick decides to tuck in behind then. So it didn't look like he defended that one too hard. Grankvist is very much mounting the pressure on the back of Simon Frelick. The pole is really under pressure here as the reigning champion. Up the inside goes the Finn in the Super Venturi to go through into 2nd position.
It's Frelick by himself into turn 1. And it's a slide, so he realizes halfway through there was no rescuing that situation.
He did try to save that for a long time though, didn't he, Owen? He banked out very, very late. Ruhl now pits. It'll be interested to see where the second of our HRTs comes out.
The decision to pit early has instigated the champion here. He wants to respond to what Rualt has done.
But it's Grankvist, first of those to really take advantage of the switch to the hards, and that's surely what Milnek is now about to do as he comes in, followed by Yaltain, crucially, and Sergio Fletcher. Jan Grankvist now needs to hope that Lalu can help him out, but such is the pace of Maciej Milnek that I think the HRT is going to be through before he knows it as Hygo Poom decides to pit from the lead.
Yeah, big move there for Hygo, just to a little bit longer on this stint. But here's Milnek for his lead back. Lalu won't want to give this one up easily, but even if he does, there's the pass. Now we've Rualt on the move. Lovely pass. That is perfectly executed there.
Ruhl on the move again. He passes the yet to pit Matthew Williams into the first corner.
But Schubert won't be giving up at all here, as he has the chance here to overtake Williams and make sure Rualt doesn't get any further ahead. So this should be A routine pass here down the inside. Schubert now has a clear run at DRS, and that will be a pass. If he can just slow down in time, it should be absolutely 100% sealed.
And now we see Maggio is going to breeze past Matthew Williams into the first corner with DRS.
Here comes Munier. Will he pick the inside line? No, he won't. He'll stay to the high line, the opposite of where he was on lap 1. And that should be clean as a whistle. He's got to make this perfectly clean. He cannot waste any more time. Let's see if he can pull it off.
Schubert then with the DRS, and he's comfortably ahead just before the braking zone.
Race leader in.
So there we go. Grankvist inherits the lead as a result. And Simon Frelich is pitting as well. Can Jan Grankvist make the two-stop work here? Because, yes, Milnek and Frelich definitely seem to be both on the free stop. As we see Milnek immediately on the attack past Thomas Vack, and this is exactly what he has to do.
He will try and fight for the win. Maggio there, getting close with the defense, but of course Milnek is through.
As we see Matthew Williams right behind Zoltzuk's, DRS open for both of them, but it's going to be Williams with the inside line into the first corner there, and with the mediums, a little bit of contact with the front wing there, but they're just about getting away with it. Fletcher now is going to pit from third, so that's surely going to put Sven Schubert onto the podium.
Yeah, happy days here for Schubert.
Well, not for long.
Taken away again. Milnek is going to be through, not necessarily using the high line and the apron, but Alex Lahou, we're watching his rear view camera. He has to say, sorry about that, nothing I can do. Williams has been exceptional.
As he goes side by side now with the Rotor Formula, that's Stefan Roth actually. Grankvist is in. Here we go, second stop for Grankvist, as we see Fletcher up the inside of Lalu, Frelich and Maggio, and Schubert, of course, all of whom sort of owe us a pit stop before the end of the race. And in fact, they're both coming in now. So yeah, Frelich will be the next target for Jan Grankvist. As now we see Schubert immediately on the attack past Zoltzuk's, who could still be on for the final couple of points if he plays his cards right. But look at that, Moynier not wasting any time. He follows Schubert through. So very opportunistic there.
Here's Tyne in pit lane, so Milnek can have the lead back. Where will the THO re-emerge? It should be pretty close. Yeah, very close indeed.
Oh, and it looks like Fletcher has undercut his way through.
Grankvist, he's got a huge run here, over 310 kilometers an hour now. He's ready to make the pass before DRS is activated. There we go, there's the activation point. He's ahead, just needs the braking zone to be sure. Yeah, he's through, but needs to slow it down, and he certainly has.
Yep, and that's 8 lap fresher tyres on Grankvist's car, and now he's within 11 seconds of race leader Milnek, but it's Rot in the other HRT that's fighting Grankvist's teammate Jokapega Lalu into the first corner, and he goes round the outside there.
Should be a chance now, but Tyan is going for the move here. He's declared ahead for the moment, and now we can see it for ourselves. That's the move completed. He's coming in, so he's used everything in reserve. He's got these tyres as far as he needs them to go, and this is the big call for the race victory. Champion Grankvist will regain the lead, but he'll be on the defensive from this point on, and Frelich pits exactly the same time.
Is that Sergio Fletcher immediately in front of him then, as he just kinks to the left-hand side, and he gets very, very close in the dirty air in the wake of that Valley Esports driver, but no matter, with DRS he's easily through.
But now watching from the rear view of Schubert, his rear wing, can't do a thing about this. Here goes Frelich, he's got the inside line wide open. Schubert holds his ground, but of course Frelich with the extra speed can just nip down the inside. Milnek has been one of the daredevils, using the banking to its fullest extent and even getting close to the wall. But it's going to be a routine pass here. He's already on the inside. Maggio, we'll check out his replay to see how he was able to overtake Schubert. And there we go, he has the slipstream and he's ready to pull out with DRS active. But yeah, he's going to have to wait till the last minute just to get his nose and four tyres in front.
This is yellow in the final sector. Schubert is immediately repassed Maggio for sixth position.
Ruwald is tumbling a bit. What happened to Ruwald?
I think there must be some sort of hardware issue because he's not been disconnected clearly. He has a big moment there just ahead of Moynier. Goes very, very wide. Wheel hits the grass. And he spins. Does a big 360. And I think almost a sort of rage quit after that.
He's already going to miss the apex there. He's compromised left tire on the grass. You can see it evading action there.
And here's a replay of that move. Simon Frelich gets close enough on the exit with the DRS. And Fletcher just stays to the outside, knows that the game is up.
And we'll begin the final lap
He's
with a head-to-head for the win. Let's bring
Here
it
we
on.
go then. Milnek closer than he's ever looked before. Grankvist not with a great exit. Push the pass in full use by Milnek. Side by side as they start the final lap. And it's the HRT that's thrown up the inside with DRS. Maciej Milnek retakes the lead at Indianapolis.
Indianapolis will rise for Holland Racing Team and Milnek. Congratulations.
What an absolutely spectacular drive. Milnek wins the United States Grand Prix in incredible fashion. So from fourth on the grid, Maciej Milnek takes his first victory in 3 years. Not since, I believe, Baku 2022 was his last victory for AG Sports. It looks like he's run out of fuel on the way into the pit lane, but no matter. He had just enough hand to win by a second over reigning champion Jan Grankvist, who retakes the championship lead. Jarl Tyne banked third, a decent recovery from the Norwegian today to beat Simon Frelick to that final spot on the podium. But Sergio Fletcher and Alessandro Maggio return valet spectacularly to the points, with Maggio passing Schubert for sixth right at the end there. Oh, as Loic Mounier decides to spin turn in the pit lane just for attention. Still not the most dramatic thing he did in this race. Jekabega Lalu just holds off Mounier, speaking of which, for eighth. It was a spectacular recovery by Loic after making a crazy dive from second on the grid into the first corner that ended up damaging his steering quite severely. Thomas Vack, he rounds out the top 10 then for Rotor Formula. And then following him in 11th position was Matthew Williams, who went from 24th to 11th. It was very long on the tyres for both Lalu and Williams at various points today, but both of them getting decent points as a result. Heigo Poom, also on an alternate strategy, ends up getting 12th at AKA Hero to beat Alex Lahu home. Dylan Fisher, he had a tough first lap, but still recovered to 14th to take 2 crucial points for AKA Hero. Then Vincent Gutt holds on to the final point of the day.
So a win for Maciej Milnek, the first since 2022. As Ross McIntyre says in the YouTube chat, the man is back. I think he was actually talking about Joey, who's also in the YouTube chat, but I'm going to pretend that he's talking about Maciej, because what a result that was. Talking of results, the practice session is over. Reuven Machete fastest of anyone in that one. Reuven, who is not a full-time driver in GPVWC Super League, so that's a good result from him. But of course, warm-up doesn't really mean that much. And it's the 70 or so laps that are coming up now. I think it is 70 laps exactly that are coming up now that are going to determine where the points are dished out. There you see the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, formerly known as the Ile Notre Dame, in Montreal, in Canada, on the St. Lawrence River. I could go more specific than that. It's in the state of Quebec. And indeed, we have 70 laps. I was exactly right about that. Fantastic. We are very nearly at the halfway point in the season. We have just one more race to go after this one. There you see the weather. Fair weather is what it says, although of course it did rain just before qualifying, hence the dampness and hence the frenetic end that we got to the qualifying session. It may end up being a little damp at the start of the race. We may see it drying even further as the race goes along, and who knows, if the weather gods can't make up their mind, we might see yet more rain. I am once again Caitlin Penny, once again being joined by Ed Hunter, and I completely forgot to mention earlier, but our broadcast director is Remco de Zeeuw, so thank you very much, Remco, and I'm sorry that I forgot your existence. Ed, welcome back. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I think we just need to sort of climb back off the ceiling after that pretty frenetic qualifying session. I was just saying to Remco in the break there that that you said an interesting thing. Oh, we shouldn't get too excited, was I think the phrase you used early in the session. And then, of course, we ended up completely losing our mind as we thought about 1 billion people were going to take pole. But in the end, by being the very, very last man over the line and absolutely nailing the lap, it must be said, for the third time this season, Alessandro Maggio is the fastest man at the end of qualifying. But for only the second time this season, he gets to start on pole position, which he also did at Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, Xavi Ross on the front row, and then our championship leader, Grankvist, in third. Not a great quali session for Loic Mounier or for Jarl Tyne, who start in 13th in the case of Tyne. But I think Mounier is... I forgot where he started. I don't see him anywhere. Well, they're 24th, just ahead of Hoekstra.
Wow. I was going to say, we'll see in a minute, but it wasn't great for Loic, was it? As you see the drivers lining up on the grid. We'll be able to talk you through the starting order in just a little bit. One thing I do find very interesting about this is that we've noticed so far this year, engine percentage, so how much engine life you start the race with, seems to matter significantly more this year than it ever has before. And the epic racing cars, including Xavi Rose in second place, are both on 100%, whereas Jan Grankvist, the championship leader starting in third, is using a used engine, so watch this space. Okay, we now can show you the starting order of this race, updated with penalties and everything like that. We do still have Alessandro Maggio on the front of the grid, followed by Xavi Rose in just his second Super League start. Then it's championship leader Jan Grankvist, who has a great chance of extending his lead today. Tomasz Vok is fourth. Then it's Szymon Frelich fifth, then Robin Panzer, Lucas Murno on his debut, and Ruben Machedi in 8th position. Ruben standing in that Adonis car. Maciej Winnick, last time's winner, is 9th place alongside his teammate Stefan Rott. Then it's Pascal Pollens and Sergio Fletcher, who is in 12th position. Moving on to 13th, we have Jarl Tyne, then it's Mark Schluter, Alex Laho, and Sven Schubert. Sven, who did very well in the last race before Indianapolis, before the little break. Oscar Soltero is in 17th position on his debut. Then it's Chris Shepard, Hygo Poom, and Luke Mitchell, who stands in for the absent Tom Stevens. Hope he's having a good time seeing Gunther Steiner. Jukka-Pekka Lalu is 21st, then it's Riot Kilk, Zolt Schukes, and Loic Mounier, second in the championship, but only 24th in qualifying after he got his timings just a little bit wrong. Then it's Wopke Hoekstra, Vin Glenn, Istvang Singel, and our third debutant, Jorge Marquinez, the Spark Racing team. The final two cars on the grid will be the unlucky Carlos Martin and the penalised Moritz Kropp, who of course got that penalty due to the starting incident in the last race where he rejoined into the side of Tom Stevens and a massive fireball ensued. Hopefully we have a much cleaner start here today. I know the track is a little bit damp and I know the order is a little bit shaken up, but these guys are all proper racers. They all know what they're doing. They're all at least relatively experienced. And hopefully we should get a clean race from lap 1 to lap 70.
2 cars not on the grid, Caitlin, and that's Jarl Tyne.
2 cars not on the grid, okay.
And Moritz Kropp.
Where's Xavi Rose gone?
Whoa. He's in starting
Xavi
the pit
Rose
lane.
is starting from the pits, and he qualified in 2nd position. What on earth has happened there? And why is he, if that's a decision, I don't know why he would have made that, but here we go with just Alessandro Maggio on the front of the grid. And when the lights go out, now we are underway in Canada, and the easiest run to turn 1 of all time is that of Alessandro Maggio. Grankvist now takes 2nd, Wok is 3rd, and then Frelich in 4th position. Hopefully everyone squeezes through those first couple of corners safely. The other drivers who did not start from the track were, I think, Jarl Tyne and Moritz Kropp. Now we go through the tight chicane. This is normally where the incidents happen as drivers get close to that wall on the outside, and then these corners are very tricky when wet because there's only one line through here at the best of times, and they're so close. Look at Stefan Rott there. Maciej Winnick actually fighting alongside Sergio Fletcher. Rott has already got past his race winner teammate and is now up the inside of the Valley Esports car. Fletcher holds him off. Look at Mark Schluter coming through as well, trying to get into the top 10 on this opening lap. Yellow flags showing up around some points of the track. Schluter around the outside. DRS will not be enabled yet, but it will be from the 2nd lap onwards. So this straight will start to get extremely important in the context of this race. Maciej Winnick is 10th. Ruben Machedi is now up into 5th position. Good start from him as he swaps places with Robin Panzer. Now out through the final corner towards the Quebec wall and across the line. The order at the end of the first lap is Maggio, Grankvist, Wok, Frelich, and Machedi. Ed Hunter.
Yeah, it was a horrible start first lap there for Milnek, the winner last time out, because he was trying to pass his teammate Rott into turn 6. Got sort of stranded on the outside. Rott was not giving him any quarter whatsoever. Fletcher got through, and now Pascal Pollens is all over the back of Milnek. So he needs to sort of settle down and stop hemorrhaging positions, which he's done so, and now needs to get back into rhythm to chase down Sergio Fletcher. So Milnek could still be a factor in this, but that's a lot of ground that he's going to struggle to make back up in this next stint of the race. Then, somebody in the wall. Is that
Martin? I think it's Carlos Martin. Is it not? Or it's Vin Glenn? Might
It's
be
one
Vin
of the-
Glenn, I'm
I think
afraid.
it was Glenn. Yeah, it looked like the AKA Hero livery. I think from what we saw there. There is Vin Glenn.
Glenn's okay. Zolt Shooks has dropped back.
It must
Okay,
be,
well,
Zeeuw
something's
and
happening.
Finkel, I think, both in trouble in the Staxes. So they're 29th and 30th after just 2 laps there.
sorry for the misidentification. We're about to see a replay of it. Here's Vin Glenn. I think he was okay. I think it's the other driver that we're looking out for here. But he's actually had a spin earlier in the lap, so that's a few corners ago as he goes all the way around and carries on. He is subbing in today for Dylan Fisher, I think, who is not here. I think here's Isfang Singal in the Stax racing car coming up towards the chicane. Something's already going a little bit awry as he's side by side. Oh, and there's contact there with Tygo Poom potentially. Oh my goodness, and upside down at the back there.
Xavi Ross.
Is it Xavi Ross? Oh, what a start. What a terrible, terrible start to the race. And it is Xavi Ross who ends up on his lid after such an incredible qualifying. And this raises the question, Ed, of why did he start from the pit lane?
It
He
can't
made
have been
all the
intentional.
way.
He must have got disconnected or something, then rapidly got back in just before the start. Because he was taking loads of risks there. That read to me as someone who was really frustrated and angry. He's trying to make up 5 places at once and ended up upside down there. So you got to feel for the Spaniard there because his front row was taken away from him. Possibly might even have been a bit of finger trouble there. We might have pressed the wrong button on the keyboard or something. But I think more likely a disconnection is, whoa, move for Murno past Panzer, and then Murno has a big wiggle coming out of the wall of champion chicane as well. So Lucas Murno on the move. We've seen him on the podium in Superlights, winning in Superlights, and now he's starting to put the moves on the Super League field. Next up, Ruben Machete and the other Adonis.
Yeah, the thing with Xavi Ross I don't get is that sometimes you see drivers pulling off on the formation lap to change tyres or something like that if they're not satisfied with what they're starting on. But with Xavi Ross, that wasn't even the case. That just does not make sense. So something really bizarre happened there, and we've got to wait for confirmation at the end of this one. Good to see that he's continued despite a pretty sizable shunt. Not the most realistic of accidents, but whatever, he's carried on in the race. Here's Shimon Frelick now, sizing up Tomasz Vok, and this is for 3rd position. DRS has been enabled for a couple of laps now, and we tend to see this thing in Super League called the DRS train, where drivers will follow each other around, unable to overtake, but using that DRS to keep up with each other. But in this case, Shimon Frelick is able to get through, and that's our first change of podium places since the very start of the race, with Shimon Frelick up into 3rd position, Ed.
Critical move for Frelick there because you could tell Vac was starting to fall away from the 2 leaders. Maggio's lapping in the 1 minute 12.8, but with the DRS, Grankvist is lapping in the 12.6s, which is exactly almost the same lap time that Frelick has just done. So this is slowly but surely turning into a freeway fight between these guys. And of course, Maggio Frelick yet to take wins in Super League, but Grankvist, of course, the reigning champion, has got a litany of them to his name, and he's looking to add one more. So the pressure is really on Maggio, and he is coping really, really well after setting that brilliant pole position. All the drama's gone on behind him, and he has just kept his head, and he needs to keep doing so for the next 65 laps.
One thing that I think could probably help Alessandro Maggio today is if there are changeable conditions. Because one of the real weaknesses we've seen from Maggio this year has been that he's not particularly good on his tyres. And here comes Jan Grankvist down the straight, opens the rear wing, and he's going to go through with the help of the overspeed and the drag reduction system. Grankvist does take the lead now, and he leads from Maggio, Frelick, Wok, and Machete. But yeah, what I was going to say is that if the conditions become changeable and the drivers have to start changing tyres all the time to get onto inters and maybe full wets, then I think that will mitigate the difficulty that Maggio has been having with tyres, and I really think that he will be hoping for at least some degree of rain over the course of this race. But what a move from Jan Grankvist there to get himself close enough to Maggio to slipstream his way through on the straight and then get it slowed enough to avoid the champion's wall on the exit of that final corner. That is our first lead change of the day, Ed, and it is our reigning champion Jan Grankvist who inevitably works his way to the front.
Yeah, and his main rival in the championship, Moynier, is still just agonizingly outside the points. He's got soft tyres. Ahead of him is Sven Schubert and Soltero, both of whom are on the medium. So yeah, Moynier from 24th on the grid has gained about 8 places But even with all those gains, he's not going to get very much for that 16th position. He needs to keep making progress here. But for Granqvist, he is looking very calm, very confident, and very much in command. This is the Jan Granqvist we saw so many times last season and very often in the first half of this season as well. It was really a couple of blips in Jeddah and Spain where Granqvist crashed out quite spectacularly, quite uncharacteristically as well. But he's very much put that behind him with that brilliant second place. Almost stole the win from Milnek actually in Indianapolis with the two-stop strategy. And I think for Maggio, it's a very short pit stop here in Montreal. He might be able to try and do a free stop if the tyre wear isn't quite good enough, especially on the soft tier in this early stint. But of course, the big threat is going to be from Frelick, 1.8 seconds behind. Frelick hasn't broken away from Thomas Vac like I expected him to, at least not yet anyway. So I think Vac is still very much in play, and that could become a big factor later on. He's got that huge train of cars not far behind him, though, of course, of Machete, Murnau, Panzar, Ruel, Fletcher, and Milnek, of course.
Unfortunately, two cars who are not there are the two Stax Racing cars who are both out of the race after the early stages. They're the first two retirements from this race, and Stax have continued their reign of pretty unlucky form, I'm afraid to say. But anyway, in terms of tyres, I've noticed that the track is now dry enough that nobody is even thinking about the intermediates. The top 13 cars are on soft tyres, and now we have Oscar Soltero up into 13th place, spoiling what I've said as soon as I've said it. But he is the top driver on medium tyres. So the top driver on alternate tyres that we have to look out for is that Epic Racing Team car of Oscar Soltero. And then the only driver on hard tyres is Moritz Kropp, and it's no surprise that he's gone for something different, starting from the very back of the grid on a day where realistically he could have done so much better. And I think that it's very much damage limitation for Moritz Kropp, who's also using the same engine that he used at the USA as well when that accident took place. Lucas Murnau here in 6th position is in his very first Super League start and is by far the highest up of the rookies in this race so far. Unless of course you count Ruben Machete as a rookie. He's made a couple of starts already in GPVWC Super League, but this is Lucas Murnau's very first race, and he has a good chance actually of sizing up and getting past Ruben Machete on this straight. Machete as well using the DRS from Tomasz Vok, and that's the reason that Murnau was not able to get past him. That's the DRS train that I was talking about earlier, because it's relatively straightforward to pass someone if you have DRS and a faster car and they don't have DRS. But when you're behind someone who also has DRS, suddenly that advantage is rather taken away from you, and that's why there were no changes of position that last time around. I think Loic Meunier may also be caught in a bit of a DRS train here himself. The driver, who is second in the championship, has made a good start to this race. He's up into 16th, but 16th is where he has stayed for the last 3, 4, 5 laps potentially.
He's still doing better than both THRs though, both of them out the points. Luke Mitchell 18th, Yartine 20th after having to start from the pit lane. Not as late or as heartbreakingly as Xavi Ross, but from a THR point of view, Toby Davis is going to be almost as frustrated, if not more. The Moynier's, oh, somebody's in the wall, and suddenly Moynier's in the points. Is that Alex Lahoe?
It's Lahoe.
Oh, no.
Alex Lahoe is out of the race, becomes the 3rd retirement, and we're about to see a replay of what's happened now. Alex Lahoe, who was on the podium all the way back in Australia at the start of the year. This is a similar track to Australia, based on public roads in a park basically, has cut across the chicane, and it's as he rejoins where the tyres should be finding grip. They lose grip and he spins around and goes into the wall. I think that was just the change of surface that he was going across, unsettling the car and causing him to spin the car around. Unfortunate stuff from Alex Lahoe, but you have to be so careful when rejoining an active racetrack. It may even have been that his right tyres gained grip slightly sooner than his left tyres because of the way he rejoined, and it kind of spun the car around before he had a chance to get it under control. But whatever the case, Alex Lahoe is our 3rd retirement of the day and probably our first big damage.
Yeah, he was running in 11th just behind Milnek when that happened. He was sort of, it looked like a very slow late turn in as well. It just looked a little sluggish there from Lahoe, and that's a shame. It really shows you that his struggles with the car, that obviously you do all these laps practicing, but you never quite practice for the worst case scenario when you go off track, because you just assume it will never happen, being the sort of slightly hubristic racing driver that you are sometimes. That all of them probably feel the same as always. This is a move from Murno picking off Vac, so Machete's gotten past Vac into 4th, and now Murno has followed suit then. So Vac really struggling. What a horrible lap for Road to Formula.
And what a fantastic start for Lucas Murno this has been. There have been a few good starts on this field. Zenvius in chat points out that Carlos Martin is already up to 18th from 29th on the grid. That is very true. And of course, he won this Grand Prix a year ago. So expect to see him climb even higher up. And Loic Mounier is now in the points. He is in 15th position. I expect partly because of Alex Lahoe's crash. I think he was in the top 15 before that. I think I also saw Pascal Pollens gain a place as well into 13th position. I mentioned the YouTube chat. I see a good few names that I recognise, but one name who shouldn't be there is Alex Lahoe. He says CBA this track. I'll let you figure out yourself what CBA stands for, but Alex Lahoe not very happy with how this race has gone, and that's unfortunate. Sorry to see you out so early, Alex, but keep your head up. There are plenty more tracks coming which are not like this one at all. Stefan Roth now with the DRS open is approaching Robin Panzer in the other, almost like the sister liveried car. They're not really that, they're not really sister teams at all, the Adonis and the HRT. They just both happen to be orange, as is the epic car behind them of Oscar Saltero. Around the outside there, look, Stefan Roth, not really that much grip out wide, and that's not normally an overtaking opportunity. And Saltero, meanwhile, I think just passed Schluter, didn't he? Pascal Pollens dropping back behind Schubert.
Yeah, Saltero's passed both at the edge, guys. He's been quietly impressive, getting on with things on the mediums, I think. He's the highest medium runner. Sven Schubert not far behind him, also on the mediums as well. But that could be interesting as this race goes on. Of course, a winner here on Tuesday in Super Lights as Royal goes off track at the chicane. Much safer rejoin from him. But here now comes Sergio Fletcher. He's going to try and go around the outside the hairpin. Caitlin and nearly gets pushed onto the grass there.
Was very close, my goodness, just about gets away with it. We saw a driver getting penalised in the Formula 1 Grand Prix for forcing another driver onto the grass in the braking zones. You can't really do that too much, especially on a day like today where the grass might be slippery. They can easily spin around and take out the back of your car. Ooh. Meanwhile, Shimon Frelich is running in 3rd position, but is closer to the back of Alex Maggio. I think this is a case of Maggio's tyres dropping off sooner than some of the other drivers yet again. And I have noticed we've seen a few pit stops from drivers at the back of the grid, Vin Glenn, Jukka-Pekka Lalu, etc. So I'm wondering if we're getting close to that first pit window. I was speaking to Carlos Martin and a few other drivers before this who said to expect a few more pit stops than you would normally look for at the Canadian Grand Prix. And I expect that we're about to see some of our first stops from the drivers near the front of the field. First of at least 2, probably even 3 for some of these guys over the course of today. And Maggio, I think, for him, it can't come soon enough.
Yeah, also, let's not forget, THR struggling so much really opens up the Teams Championship for both Jan Grankvist and Super Venturi. And, of course, the two Adonises, 4th and 6th at the moment, with Machete, who, of course, was 5th in the opening race this season in Australia for Valle, getting another super sub dry. But look at this, Frelich all over the back of Maggio, and he gratefully snatches that 2nd position. And Maggio, I think, was heading into the pit lane.
So Maggio does pit then from 2nd position in the race. And I said it couldn't come soon enough, but now, of course, he'll have the advantage of fresh tyres, and he'll be able to go after it as if it's the very start of the race. Don't worry about the fact he's on mediums when others are on softs. At this point in time, a fresh medium is so much more valuable than an old soft. Out of the pits he goes, and he will be well outside of the points, but you don't have to worry about that, because everybody ahead of him now will still have to make their first pit stop of the day. That's Jarl Tyen there, showing just how far back the THRs were in this first stint. And Tyen running 18th position in the race, still outside of the points. So who's going to be next? Grankvist, Frelich, Machete, anyone else from the front of the grid? I expect pretty much all of them will be in for their pit stops before too long, and too many more laps.
It very much commits Alessandro Maggio to the free stop, doesn't it, surely?
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see, as you say, Grankvist, he can sort of afford to wait, but look
Machete.
at this. Machete on the move, up to P2, past Simon Frelick, very early down the straight as well. Machete absolutely flying, and Frelick, now he's lost the DRS, is sort of seeing Grankvist get away with this one while these two squabble over scraps. Sergio Fletcher in, so both the valets quite hard on their tyres here.
Yeah, for sure. And with Maggio being so hard on his tyres, he's created a little bit of a gap between Grankvist and Machete. Grankvist now has fresh air that he hasn't been able to enjoy at any point in the race so far. He had 3 seconds before the stop, and we'll have to wait and see if Machete can start to reel that in just a little bit. I was talking about the DRS train earlier on. It's very important that you don't let somebody leave that DRS train, because then you will be under attack and they won't be, and they will be able to get away so much more freely than you will be able to. There's Ruben Machete, a relatively straightforward move on the straight. That's about as easy as they come, but he still needed to get himself into a position to do so. It's been a good drive from Machete so far, and he is running in second position as the race continues. But does he pit this time around?
Yeah, it's...
I was lost Vopke Hoekstra, sorry.
Oh, that's a shame. I was rooting for Vopke, as I think was kind of obvious. Now, Grankvist in. So he's waited 2 laps. The gap between himself and Maggio was just over 19 seconds. Maggio did clear Jarl Tyne very, very quickly here. So this could be very close. Nobody else following Jan Grankvist in. So it's just going to be Maggio that he's got to worry about here.
Okay, so that's the race leader into the pits. We'll have to see now where he is in relation to Alessandro Maggio. Maggio's had a couple of laps on those fresh tyres, but Grankvist had a 3-second advantage before coming into the pits. That's Tyne, is it? Yep. That's, now where... Well, that's Luke Mitchell, okay, so we're looking in 11th position. Grankvist has 1 car between himself and Maggio, and it all depends now on how quickly they can get through these other cars as to what the gap is going to be when this all shakes out, Ed.
Yeah, all of a sudden, if our top runners like Machete and Frelick can really extend this first stint on the softs and go for a 2-stop, if Grankvist and Maggio are getting stuck in traffic, it could open things up to them. But given you can overtake fairly easily down the straight, but you do still need to nail those exits, as we see Maggio about to dive up the inside of Martin into the hairpin. Just enough space for the Italian to squeeze through there. Martin wants none of that, the winner of last year's race here, knowing that there's still a long way to go. Machete and Frelick in.
Okay, Ruben Machete and Shimon Frelick both into the pits. And that leaves Lucas Murno to lead his first lap of GPVWC Super League in his career.
Oh!
Whoa! And around,
Mitchell
Mitchell goes for a full 360, drops behind his teammate now. I don't think he hit anything. He may have been tagged to go into that spin in the first place, but he hasn't connected with anything too solid. And I think he'll get away without too much damage, but he's going to be side by side with Shimon Frelick on pit exit there. Frelick just about gets ahead and goes through cleanly. So Grankvist is now with Maggio. There's just a second between the two of them. I think Frelick is net 3rd place potentially, but you're absolutely right. If people at the front can extend that stint just a little bit, maybe put themselves on a 2-stop strategy, then they have to worry a little bit less about getting caught behind slower cars, and they may end up benefiting from that and getting themselves back in the race.
Oh, you see how much Ruben Machete has lost out a bit here. They were not expecting Luke Mitchell to spin and just end up right in front of their pit window as well. So crucially, he dives up the inside of the hairpin, clears Mitchell quickly, and there now it's Fletcher's turn to slipstream behind. Ruel and Panzer are in for HRT and Adonis respectively, so they're going to come out near the back of this train.
And Murno stays out. We're looking at Sergio Fletcher now, side by side with Luke Mitchell, and goes through. Mitchell surprisingly stays out. I thought that on those tyres he'd have to pit now. I know he's trying to leave it out a bit later because he was one of the drivers who started on the medium tyres, but his tyres will probably look like 50p pieces at this point. We're going to see how that happened now. Luke Mitchell is the THR with the yellow front. Here we go, out of the corner, and I don't think he touches anything. I don't think he gets hit. He just goes for a full 360-degree spin and then rejoins, gathers it up. It was a good recovery, actually, from Luke Mitchell, but it could... Oh, dear. Around he goes. Yeah, I don't think he got hit. I think that's just a typical spin where you light up the rear tyres before you've found enough traction to do so, and the car goes, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, he had the presence of mind to get out of that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Jan Granqvist, 7th position on the back of Chris Shepherd, and we'll probably get him on the straight. That's the best place that you can catch a slower car, because you don't lose too much time in that. Lucas Murno is now into the pits. What a fantastic first stint that he has had in his Super League career to lead the race for 2 or 3 laps in the end there, and he'll probably come out net maybe 5th, maybe 6th. He'll be up there, he'll be up near the front. He'll come out about 14th position as it stands, just behind Luke Mitchell and ahead of Moritz Kropp. We seem to have lost Ed Hunter for a little bit, so I'm going to keep on yammering until he gets back. The top driver still on medium tyres is Oscar Soltero in that 2nd position. Maciej Munich, the only driver at the front of the field that we're waiting for to make their first pit stop from those soft tyres. And we're being rejoined now by Ed Hunter. You've missed nothing. We saw a replay of that Luke Mitchell spin. Lucas Murno has now pitted, so Maciej Munich temporarily leads the race until he inevitably makes his pit stop in just a few minutes' time.
And that makes sense for Milnek because, of course, he had that tough start, so he's sort of trying to stretch out for the 2-stopper. Machete going very, very quickly, actually. 1 minute 12.2 that last lap around. And it's interesting that Granqvist went for the hards, so he is definitely trying to go a much longer middle stint here, as we see Maggio picking off Chris Shepherd, who at one point looked like he might have qualified in the top 10, just missed out, as he's also trying to extend in his first stint. We see Milnek and Vac come in. So Soltero, Schubert, Granqvist is now the top 3. As we see Machete right in the thick of the battle with, is that Simon Frelick? No, it's Carlos. Frelick's a bit further back. Oh, fighting away with Fletcher.
Wow, so that means that Oscar Soltero now leads the race. 2 of our 3 debutants today have had their chance to lead the Grand Prix. That is amazing stuff. And Shimon Frelick here in 10th position is trying to clear Fletcher, Tyan Martin, etc., drivers who are yet to make their pit stops. It's worth noting that not everyone who's made their first stop has gone onto the medium tyre. People such as Jan Granqvist and I think Shimon Frelick there have actually gone onto the hard tyre. They have indeed, and will be trying to extend a little bit longer. Maggio and Machete and the like have gone onto mediums. So a difference in strategy there. Maggio is absolutely committed to the 3-stopper. Granqvist and Frelick, who knows, but I think Granqvist can do the 2-stopper. Granqvist, we know he's great on his tyres. Remember Silverstone last year. He can absolutely go to the end like this. And now watch as Sergio Fletcher, nearly passes Carlos Martin, who comes into the pits, along with Chris Shepherd.
Yeah, that was almost the second worst thing that happened to the THRs going to that chicane today. As you see Murno now getting a beautiful slipstream, sees Fletcher and Frelick still dueling away. Frelick tries to nudge his way up the inside into turn 2, and he is still there as there's yellow flags in the middle sector that clear now, so the battle will resume. And Fletcher, was not backing out of that one in a hurry, and he sort of backed Fletcher on the hards into Murno, or Frelick, sorry, and he's created that small gap into turn 6. Murno has to be careful here. Soltero probably being careful in the lead as well, but yeah, it's Murno now trying to get back alongside with the DRS into turn 6. Can the Green Stripes driver make this move cleanly? Frelick knows he's almost certainly going to have to bail out this one, and he does. That was quite sensible there.
Was indeed. Up to the hairpin they go. This is sometimes an overtaking opportunity, but sometimes you don't want to pass here due to the long DRS straight that immediately follows up. It's a much better overtaking opportunity, so you're just better to wait for here. Lucas Murno, we're on board with him, looking back at Shimon Frelick now, who appears to be a bit too far back, I would say. But this is for position, so they will be fighting. Oscar Soltero now into the pits, along with Sven Schubert, so that puts Granqvist and Maggio right back to the front. And I would say the driver in the much better position here is Jan Granqvist, as not only is he at the front of the field, but he is on the harder compound tyre that should theoretically last longer. And of course Maggio, we know, struggles on his tyres anyway, so Granqvist should stay ahead for the time being. And even if Maggio goes through, I still think he will probably have to make one more pit stop than Granqvist anyway. Jan Granqvist leads the race by 0.6 of a second from Maggio, then Machete, Fletcher, Tyan, Murno, Frelick, Royal, Panzer and Kropp. Those are the top 10 after the first 22 laps of the race. It's not entirely representative. Moritz Kropp is yet to stop. and I think a couple of other people are as well, a little further back. But it is as representative as we're going to get for the time being, and there are the leaders, Grankvist, followed by Maggio, and the car you see just ahead of them is Vin Glen, who is about to be put a lap down, Ed.
Yeah, Maggio sort of needs to make this move quickly here. He's got the undercut on Grankvist, and he's on the mediums, whereas Grankvist is on the hard. So Grankvist will be at his slowest in this stint right now relative to him. So he needs to strike while the iron's hot, and Vin Glen might well just create that little distraction for Grankvist if he doesn't get out of the way of both of them. Really sharpish as the blue flags now starting to fly. Meanwhile, in fifth, it's Jarl Tyen that's doing the sort of alternate strategy here, going really, really long. He's not pit yet on those mediums. He, of course, started in the pit lane, didn't he? And you would think Lucas Murno should be able to pass him relatively quickly. But we know Jarl Tyen is very experienced, loves to spring surprises. We see Glenn getting out of the way of both Maggio and Grankvist very, very cleanly. And Alessandro Maggio, the Magic Man, has got a clear run at our championship leader and reigning champion now.
He may well take the lead this time. He's definitely close enough, and he'll have the DRS. Like I say, I still think that Grankvist has the strategic advantage, but let's watch who gets the track position advantage. Rear wing is wide open now for Alessandro Maggio, and he's not going to be close enough, not quite. He looked as if he could have taken a look. Oh, he's actually got the line wrong on the way into the chicane. He'll have lost a good 3 or 4 tenths of a second in that, and had to really slam on the anchors to avoid getting the car wide and losing the car entirely over the curbs. And I think that's cost him a chance of getting past Grankvist on this lap as well. We're going to see a replay of something. This is Lucas Murno, and he is fighting, is that Jarl Tyen just up ahead? I think it must be. And Murno goes to the inside and goes through on the straight. And that's all done nice and cleanly. Jolly good. Lucas Murno, possibly one of my drivers of the day so far today, but we've got a long way to go yet, so it's way too early to say that.
Yeah, just set his personal best lap of the race on that lap too, 1 minute 12.5. So yeah, Murno is very much flying at the moment, and Fletcher may look a little bit worried as Vin Glen now gets out of their way, and Tyen is about to be gobbled up by the group of Frelick, Rult, Panzer, Milnek, and Schluter that are closing down on him as Glen cannot get out of the way quickly enough.
Oh, my goodness. So, down the straight we go once again. Shimon Frelick on the back of Jarl Tyen. Tyen is another driver who is still yet to make his first pit stop. Started from the pit lane due to braking parc fermé. Clearly wanted a setup change or two before the start of the race. Kicking it out towards the barrier, but avoiding it, and that's the most important thing.
Big crash in the background.
Was that Thomas Vogt? It was Vogt, and Schluter's been caught up in it. Mark Schluter is caught up in it as well, and his torrid season continues to get worse. It's put Mounier up a couple of places, I think. I think he got it through it cleanly. But yeah, Mark Schluter was in the wrong place at the wrong time there. And Thomas Vogt, who started 3rd position in the race, is now looking at a much worse result than that. And I hope we see a replay to see exactly how that started.
Yeah, and you could tell that for Thomas Vac, because he lost so much ground in that first stint, it put him sort of back in the pack when he pitted. And yeah, that was why he was in that sort of situation. So Vac is behind Schluter, going into that final chicane. He gets up the inside. Oh, neat and tidy so far. Gets over the curb, gets tapped at the rear. So it was a misjudgment, really, from behind there, it must be said.
Yeah, I used the word unlucky for Schluter there, but unfortunately, there was nothing unlucky about that. That was a misjudgment from Schluter going into the back of Thomas Vogt, spinning him around.
It's the only thing I would say.
A bit deep? Well, I think he had the right to the corner at that point.
Yeah.
And I think that Schluter has rather put himself into the wall there. Sorry.
Yeah, not going to contest that. It's just I could see why Mark would have gotten caught out. It's not easy, this whole racing driver business, so I'm always a little bit more hesitant to criticize sometimes. Well, not, but apart from when I'm doing the mid-season reviews, apparently. But in live commentary, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. But nonetheless, that has put both of them a bit further down the pack than they'd like. Vac in 14th and Schluter 19th now. As we look at Machete now on the podium. Oh, it completely cuts the turn 7 and 8 chicane in his quest to try and catch Maggio and Grankvist. So Grankvist, but the fact that Maggio wasn't able to pass him has played into the hands of Machete here, who's been faster than both of them last couple of laps. But that mistake there could well sort of protect Maggio another couple of laps. He can just sort of afford to coast up to the back of Grankvist and not overtake him. But it seems almost that Maggio's backed out of a couple of attempts that he could have gone for a move into the final chicane, Caitlin. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
He kept it from spinning as he rejoined the track, did Machete, and there is Yartayan being passed by Royal and Panzer. But yeah, I do agree with you, Ed. Unfortunately, we've lost both of the AKA Hero cars. Vin Glen and Hygo Poom have both called it a day. Vin Glen was a lap down and was getting out of people's way. And Hygo Poom was not a lap down, but was also not having the best time of it. I saw that he was involved in a little bit of contact on the first lap. And unfortunately, they are both out of the race, so no points for the AKA Hero team in this one. 24 cars remain now on lap 27, and we have, of course, the top 15. Oh, and we've lost Mark Schluter. So after that collision we saw on the last lap, Schluter has also called it a day, and we have 23 cars remaining in the race, Ed.
Yeah, not too surprising, it must be said. He clearly boxed, realising that it was going to be difficult to salvage very much out of today. But yeah, you've got to feel a bit for Mark and his... apart from Barcelona, it's been a really tough season for him, and we know he's capable of a lot better. As we see again, Grankvist has a much better exit than Maggio out of that final chicane. And you can see Machete matching them and starting to draw into this battle here. At the moment, though, you've got to say this is working out well for Valle. Fletcher has really clawed his way up the field after missing out a little bit. He set that final lap in qualifying a little bit too early. He's holding off Frelick quite convincingly. Oh, is that Frelick behind him? It is, yeah. He's holding him off quite convincingly. And he's got his teammate Maggio on the podium in that fight for the lead. So Valle, if they can get some good points out of this, that could really transform their championship on the day where a lot of their direct rivals are behind them on the road.
So, down the back straight go Fletcher and Shimon Frelick just behind him. Is Fletcher one of the drivers who made an early pit stop, or has he gone long on those mediums? He did make an early pit stop, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
So he's actually gained a few positions in this then. I think he was about 9th or 10th in the opening couple of laps.
Because he's on the mediums, whereas Frelick was on the hard, so that's how he's made that move, essentially.
Potentially, yeah. Frelick sticking with him, though. And Maggio is also sticking with Grankvist. Less than half a second between those two on this lap. Shimon Frelick now going for it, and goes through on Sergio Fletcher, uses that DRS and that slipstream to its full advantage. I think he's got the right idea, actually, by going onto the hard tyres in that first pit stop. I think that's going to leave them quite flexible as the race goes on. It does indicate, though, I don't think any of them are expecting any rain anytime soon, because if they were, they would probably go for the mediums, just so they don't end up wasting a harder set of tyres. And Moritz Kropp pits for a medium compound of tyre and drops to 22nd position in the race. Still a chance of scoring points for Moritz, but he's going to really have to work at it. That's the problem with picking up such a hefty grid penalty. I must say, quite a harsh grid penalty, actually. It was for an unsafe rejoin in the last race, but if it's the one that I'm thinking of, he was rather out of control at that point. And
he had a very damaged car as well from the collision with like Moynier as well. So Moynier arguably sort of got away. I think he sort of admitted that it wasn't his finest moment, essentially. But he's had that issue, isn't he, with the rear brakes, essentially, where it's just not been behaving themselves. As we see more lap times from our leaders coming through, Maggio and Grankvist matching each other, and Machete as well, who's now very much within DRS of both of them. It won't be long before Murno, who's lapping 3/10 lap quicker than all of them, Frelick as well, is matching that on the hards. So the mediums and hards are starting to converge here. So our top 5, within about 6.5 seconds, are really in the same race here.
Yeah, and Tyan has finally pitted now. Now you can see the winners and losers from the race so far. Mounier and Martin both up quite a few positions from their starting place, which is no real surprise since they both started way lower than you would expect them to. Of course, Carlos Martin, I think, crashed out in qualifying. We didn't actually see it, but that's what I'm assuming happened until we get any other update on that. And then Loic Mounier, of course, just did not get his timing right and ended up missing out on the driest bit of track. And of course, Xavi Rose, while it looks like he's one of the biggest losers of the race so far, losing 15 positions, he's actually gained several positions from where he actually started the race, because he actually started the race from the very back in the pit lane. And that 15 place drop is calculated from his grid position, which he didn't end up taking, so that didn't end up mattering. The biggest losers are the people who are no longer still in the race, and that shows the importance of just carrying on if you can. By the way, Carlos Martin there up into 14th position now, passing Loic Meunier for position, and continuing on his merry way at the track where he scored that emotional victory a year ago, one of the greatest moments of the 2024 Super League season that was, and a race that I would absolutely recommend going back to watch at some point if you haven't seen that one. Obviously not during this one, because we already have a race to watch as it is. But anyway, Ed, save me from my waffling.
Well, I would say you could probably just watch the highlights if there's like 10 boring minutes of this one, but and then come back. But anyway, there's a bit of self-promotion there as we now see Martin, of course, on much fresher tyres than Meunier. So Meunier hit quite early, didn't he, to try and get the undercut, relatively early, it must be said, and is now starting to feel a bit of the pain of that. Next up to attack will be Schubert, who pit 9 laps ago. Loic Meunier pit about 16 laps ago, and Carlos pit about 10 laps ago as well. So that really explains what's going on there. Interestingly, Machete, who of course has got a more worn engine than both Grankvist and Maggio, 39%, has been matching their lap times, 2/10 slower the previous lap. And we got Murno, who's actually going a tenth slower than Machete last time around. So the threat for Murno, I think increasingly is going to come from Frelick and maybe even Fletcher behind, who are starting to lap quicker than him.
Okay, so Ruben Machete getting himself involved at this point in time. I think he's on the medium tyres as well, is he not? So Grankvist still with a slight advantage, I would say, at least on the strategy front. Jorge Marquinez there, the only driver on soft tyres as it stands. A little bit surprising. 23 cars remaining in the race now. After 30 cars started it, it's been a little bit of a race of attrition, but you tend to get that on races where the track started a little damp. Hasn't rained since then. The sky's still looking a little dark, but we're not seeing any drops of rain just yet. There's Chris Shepherd now side by side with Pascal Pollens, going through into 12th position. Pollens not using all of the track on the exit of the corner. Someone who used all of the track and more there in the background was Loic Meunier, I think. I think Meunier just cut across the chicane and he's lost a place to Sven Schubert in all of that. So the driver second in the championship, who has a lot to gain in this race, is down a place from where he maybe should be. Here's a replay of what just happened. Meunier coming up to the last corner. He's got Schubert on his tail. And he's just going to brake a little too late. Have a little bit of a swapper and then a massive bump over the bumps, the sausage curbs on the outside of the corner. Takes flight and comes back to the ground, creating sparks in his spark.
Yeah, you can tell that he's sort of lost that because he's been on those hards quite a while, and he is just sort of struggling to hold on to these positions there. It's sort of similar to what we saw with Yartan running long in the first stint, as we see Rolt trying to cut the inside of Fletcher there, as they're all getting a little bit bottled up, surprisingly, behind Simon Frelick, who is, as I say, slowly starting to reel in Murno, although that last lap they were sort of just matching each other there, so Murno starting to fight back a bit here. But you can tell things getting a bit desperate here. Stefan Ruhl starting to feel just slightly impatient behind that Valley Esports in front of him.
Pascal Pollens into the pits, drops out of the points. Loic Meunier now back into the points, but he'll have a tough task today to keep his car there. We're nearly at the halfway stage of the race now, and it is getting exciting up front, with Grankvist less than a second ahead of Maggio, who's less than a second ahead of Machete, and 1 second, of course, is how close you have to be to the car in front to benefit from the DRS, so we're getting a little bit of a train forming there.
Indeed, and I think that's going to be stayed up. But it's always in a train, it's so easy, as I say, just to get that little bit frustrated, isn't it? When you can't, you haven't got that little bit of overlap in with the DRS to pass the car in front. And so the temptation is either you sort of settle into a rhythm and you are sort of almost at a point where you're letting chances go. As into the pits comes Fletcher off of the mediums. There's a big drift out of the final chicane from Frelick. So you would think Ruel has got a bit more pace in him that he can now unleash to start to challenge Frelick with. As Fletcher, it's interesting, he's now pitting before Maggio, whereas he pit at the same time as in the previous stint. That tells me that Maggio has maybe been saving tyres behind Grankvist, and that's why we saw him deliberately not make the move. That could be a bit of a play here from the Italian.
Could be. Here is Alessandro Maggio, the other Italian, sandwiched between Jan Grankvist and Ruben Machedi through the chicanes, twitching the tail out. Remember a couple of laps ago when Maggio had a real chance of getting past Grankvist, but just got the chicane a little bit wrong and ended up dropping back. He'll be kicking himself for that now, because he could at least have started to build a little bit of a buffer, but now he's going to be under pressure from Machedi, who I think he is more realistically racing for position in this one. Machedi with the DRS open, behind Maggio, who also has the DRS open. Maggio nearly lost the DRS on that lap though. He's got to stick with Jan Grankvist, and he cannot afford to drop back. Robin Pansar there, I think, just got overtaken by Munich, did he? I saw the order change around that point, and I think that was the case. So Pansar in 8th position, and we're seeing a replay. And this is Maciej Munich getting past Robin Pansar on the straight in a relatively straightforward move with DRS and everything.
Yep, there we go. So Milnek passes Panzar and is now right behind his teammate once more. So the HRTs, who sort of had a couple of issues early in the race, are now starting to come back into their own. Milnek, of course, seems to, after a rocky start, has regained his confidence, of course. And of course, it's all that experience and still riding a little bit off the high of winning in Indianapolis last time out, even though it was before the break, as Sven Schubert is in trouble and he's dropped a couple of positions out of the points.
Yep, the yellow flag is out and Sven Schubert has dropped out of the points, so something just happened there to the Fraser Tartan Racing driver. We're going to see a replay of what that was. This is a tricky couple of corners here. Is he going to loop it on the exit? Okay, he's avoided the bit where I thought he was going to have an incident.
Oh!
Whoa, that's a weird one. Drops it partway through a flat-out corner. That corner is not normally an issue. And, I mean, is that a sign that his tyres are going massively off? Something really dramatic just happened at a place where we very rarely see drivers spin out. Here we are on board. I'm going to watch his gears, actually. It almost looked like maybe he changed down a gear where he meant to change up or something.
Yeah, there was a gear shift.
The car just gives way. Now, what happened there?
Yeah, difficult to say. It sort of stalled in the air, didn't it? And at high speed. So that's a horrible place to have a spin, but he had fair play to him. He absolutely caught it very, very early. And he had very, very good presence of mind there, did Sven Schubert. So, yeah, Sven keeps going. He's out of the points, but on the hards, they shouldn't be too damaged, as we see Maggio has well and truly started to fall out of DRS range of Grankvist. Fastest man on track, unsurprisingly, is Fletcher, who has just pit and has got a lovely gap in 13th position in which to close in on Carlos Martin there. But Maggio, is he heading for the pits? Yes, he is, and Machedi follows suit. So this is all about putting the pressure on Grankvist.
They both come in. Fantastic stuff. It's a race in the pits between the mechanics of Valley Esports and Adonis Engineering. The teams can actually upgrade their pit crews as the season goes on, so with the R&D points that they get, it's not just about upgrading the car itself. They can also reduce the amount of time they spend in the pits. I think Machedi maybe gained about 1/10 of a second or so there. Won't really matter that much. They're going to come out in a little bit of traffic, and they've actually got a car between them there, so maybe it did matter a little bit more than I thought. That's Carlos Martin there, who has split Alessandro Maggio and Ruben Machedi, and there's yellow flags, and there's a rear wing, and who is that? Off the road, and it's Murno! Oh no! Lucas Murno is out of the race on a day where I really thought he was on for a top 5 finish in his first GPVWC Super League start. But unfortunately, one of our rookies has smashed it against the barriers and is out of the race. And here's a replay of what's happened. Is it his own fault? I think it might be. He's by himself. So into the chicane he goes. The second part of it, he's going to loop it on the exit and bang into the barriers. Out of the race he goes. What a tragedy, Ed.
Yeah, that's gutting there, because one momentary lapse where he got a bit too far on the curve, a bit too early on the power. The rear snapped out on him. I couldn't save it in time, and a big crunch through the wall. Front left wheel is completely gone, and he would be second right now if had that not happened. So it's opened up the race for Ruhl and for Milnek, interestingly. But you got to feel not just for our rookie driver there, but also for Green Stripes there, because as you say, he was doing such a brilliant job as Murno up into that one lapse in concentration. But yeah, that Super League, it can bite you. It doesn't take it. It doesn't. You don't want to give it opportunities because it only needs one to end your race.
Quick shout out to who was cheering Lucas Murno on in the YouTube chat. Mauricio Quercio was cheering him on, and unfortunately will be a little bit disappointed by that, I think. Wopke Hoekstra, Massimiliano Riboli and Danilo Vaz all paying their respects to Lucas Murno. Meanwhile, here's Ruben Machedi getting past Carlos Martin and getting back with, well, not back with Maggio, because he's got Chris Shepherd to get past yet on the straight. Maggio's actually getting away a little bit, and Maggio may be about to pass Tomasz Vok. There we go. See, Maggio is so quick on fresh tyres. He just needs to learn how to keep them a bit more, and then he'll be an absolute force to be reckoned with. I think Maggio will absolutely be a Super League race winner in the future, but not today. If he continues to drop off like this, because Grankvist is just going to keep going and going like a juggernaut, and he will be absolutely unstoppable. Ruben Machedi, meanwhile, is into P9 now and has Tomasz Vok to pass. And Carlos Martin's actually just got past Chris Shepherd as well. So Shepherd losing out 2 places as he drops behind the drivers on fresher tyres.
Yeah, well, you can criticise Maggio for his high tyre wear, but I think he's learning from his mistakes, and he's leading the strategy at least. It's Ruben that's shadowing him and doing exactly what he's doing, whereas Jan is sort of, you can sort of sense he's slowly shifting towards the 2-stop and trying to extend this stint on the hard. So he might lose track position, but be able to repass Maggio on fresher tyres near the end, in theory at least, as now we see Ruben about to line up Thomas Vac down the back straight here.
Yeah, and this shows how much Tomasz Vok's race has gone a little bit downhill. Ruben Machedi going through into 8th position, and Tomasz is still due his 2nd pit stop. But yeah, I would like to quickly say that when I criticise a driver, it's because I know they can do better. So treat it as some sort of harsh compliment rather than a, I'm never berating a driver when I say these things, but I'm sure that the drivers know that when they listen back to this. Meanwhile, Oscar Soltero is now our top rookie in 6th position, and he is on the back of Robin Pansart, just half a tenth of a second back. That is amazing stuff from Oscar Soltero, who also, in fairness to him, led the strategy early on in the race. He started the race on medium tyres when the other drivers around him didn't necessarily, and now he's on those hard compound tyres trying to run a little bit further. It could still be a 2-stop strategy for Oscar Soltero, and I think it probably is at this point in the race. And he may even pick off a place or 2 before he gets there, as the HRT swap places. Winnick is now 2nd ahead of Stefan Ruhl.
Yeah, you can tell Maciej Milnik knows it's a slim chance that they can get on the podium here, but they need to take it, and Milnik is faster at this phase of the race, and he's asserted himself ahead of Stefan Ruhl. So Ruhl has had a much stronger showing than he has in the last 4 races where he's retired in all of them. But yeah, nonetheless, it's Milnik now that has come alive at the right time, as it were. As now we see Soltero starting to just get stuck behind Panzar and Frelick, and he's falling into the clutches of Maggio on those fresh tyres.
Brief yellow, I noticed that Martin and Fletcher both lost a place or 2 as Shepherd went through. We're going to see a replay and see if either of those drivers were involved. Here is Sergio Fletcher on the back of Carlos Martin. It could have been both of them, you know. He's going to go for a move into turn 1 and loses it and takes him out. Okay, it was both of those drivers. Sergio Fletcher lost control, and Carlos Martin was the unlucky third party who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time there, Ed.
Yeah, there we go. You almost Carlos came off by far the worst, even though it was just a tiny bit of contact. But yeah, Fletcher just completely had a bit of an error under braking, an unforced error completely on his own there. So yeah, again, just not the best luck for Carlos, and it's been a bit of a running theme, isn't it? Because he got taken out in the first lap in Indianapolis. You see Frelick coming in now, which promotes Solterra and Panzer and Maggio. Oh, Frelick.
Martin, he's out of the race. So Carlos Martin retires,
Got nudged into the wall.
becomes our ninth retirement, I think, and absolutely tragic stuff for the driver who, as I've said many times, won here a year ago. We're going to see a replay now of what just happened to Carlos Martin, heading down into the hairpin, escapes the hairpin. Oh, he's disconnected. There we go. So out of the race. I know it looked like he had some insane understeer going into the wall on the outside, but that is a typical disconnection. I think it may have just been a coincidence that it happened right after his collision, and that has put him out of the race, I'm afraid to say.
Look at this, Milnek and Ruhl both lapping faster than Grankvist at this phase. And they're both on the hards, aren't they? Or Ruhl definitely is. And yeah, Grankvist 113.7, Milnek 113.2, Ruhl 113.4. So is Grankvist just taking it easy on the two-stop here, or is he genuinely in trouble? And we've got to keep an eye on the progress of Maggio, who's only 12 seconds off the lead now.
It's like Winnick's actually on the medium tyres. I thought they were both on hards, but Winnick is on the mediums. I think this is a two-stopper from Ruhl. I've lost track of Winnick. Has he really only stopped once, but gone onto the medium tyres? So it could still be a two-stopper from him as well. Yeah, okay. That's a decent stint on those medium tyres, but I think anyone who pits from now until the end of the race will be on a two-stop strategy. Of course, excluding the people who have already stopped twice, because some of those will have to stop again. Jan Grankvist leads by 6.5 seconds. He's had a big lead ever since Alessandro Maggio dropped back early on. And I say big lead, that's still, you know, can't afford to make any mistakes or anything like that.
Losing a second a lap to Maggio at the moment.
Yeah. It shows you just how close GPVWC Super League is, actually, that we see that 6 seconds is a big gap. Into the pits he comes. This is, I presume, his last pit stop of the day, and this has got to be good. If he comes out in traffic, that could change the course of the race entirely. Maciej Winnick will now lead the race. Grankvist stops in his box. You have to be so careful not to overshoot it. We've seen drivers doing that at pretty much every Grand Prix. Out of the pits he goes on another set of hards that will absolutely carry him to the end. Chris Shepherd also into the pits, and Grankvist on the outside will come out with a decent amount of clean air, actually. He's got about 6 seconds before Machete, who's just up the road. And of course, Machete and Maggio still need to make their last stop. So I would say that's worked out really well for Jan Grankvist. And I still think he is the driver to catch in this one, Ed.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Maggio and Machete have done 7 more laps than him. But yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out, because there's still a few things still factor. Maggio has got that latent pace here. If he pits late for the soft tyres, I think he could still be a threat, as we see actually starting to get held up by Panzer, who has just been overtaken recently by Solterra, impressively. So yeah, Panzer could well be a bit of a roadblock that Maggio's got to clear quickly, and Panzer definitely trying to help out his teammate Machete here.
And Solterra, I think, is catching Ruhl. Well, Ruhl's in the pits. I was going to say, Solterra still has a chance of, I mean, it's an outside chance of a podium, but he has a chance of a top 5 for sure. Stefan Ruhl is in the pits. That puts Solterra second and Maggio third as it stands.
Ooh,
very
Panzer
important that Maggio gets through soon. And there is Robin Panzer as well, lining
not
him
getting
up.
out of the way of his teammate, so he's not exactly doing Reuven many favours here.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. There is a DRS zone coming up. Thomas Vock into the pits as well.
Yeah, here we go then. They both get DRS. Oh, and Robin immediately closes it there. So, yeah, I of course didn't want to completely compromise his own race, because he is still trying to catch and fight with Solterra, of course. Maggio is yet to clear, interestingly. So, Oscar putting up a bit of a fight here.
Yeah, well, we all knew that Panzer was going to get out of the way there. I think he just wanted to give his teammate the DRS. But, yeah, Machete's in contention for a podium. Panzer inside the top 10 probably, but anyway, Here comes Alessandro Maggio, lining up Oscar Soltero. I said this was an important move, and he gets it done first time of asking. That was very important. So Alessandro Maggio back into second position now, and catching Maciej Młynek as Pansar pits. Młynek will pit before too long. And we're at the stage where drivers may start to extend it to try to go onto a softer compound of tyre, like the mediums, maybe even the softs if they're feeling really, really brave, but I think probably mediums from here. Pansar on another set of hard tyres, Ed.
Yeah, fairly conservative strategy, it must be said, from Adonis for Pansar, but that will give him the undercut on someone like Soltero, who seems to be in a similar race to him, essentially. Młynek, interestingly, with Maggio starting to catch him, it's crucial that Maggio covers off any chance that Młynek might sort of converge onto his strategy and pit at the same time for his final stop. So it's pretty crucial that Maggio just keeps closing that gap, and he's doing so at 7/10 per lap at the moment. So you think Młynek 2.7 seconds ahead, that last pit stop just cannot come soon enough for him. As we see now, Grankvist starting to catch up to the back of Machete here, and he's lapping 2/10 quicker that previous lap.
Now Machete has the onus on him to get past Soltero as quickly as he can, and he gets onto the grass. That's not how you do it. And that's going to cost him some time. And Młynek is into the pits now, so Maggio leads from Soltero and Machete. And now here comes Machete again up the inside of Soltero. This time he gets it done, and he does get it woed up in time for the corner. But he needed to do that a little bit earlier. That could have cost him half a second, maybe more, Ed.
Yeah, and now the problem for Maggio and Machete is they've got to pick when to pit here, because if they just stay out, they both use two different compounds of tyres. So they don't have to stay out, but if they do, they're going to get passed by Grankvist easily here, unless Grankvist has big trouble passing Soltero, which I don't think he will, even though Oscar has been very impressive today. So yeah, this is a matter of they want to give themselves enough time to try and chase Grankvist down, but they also don't want to lose too much time to Grankvist in this stint, essentially. Massive drift from Ruven into the hairpin.
Gathers it up. That would have cost him a little bit of time and possibly some rear tyre life, but anyway. I've noticed as well, Maciej Młynek has come up behind Royal and Frelick. I think he was ahead of Royal before the pit stages, wasn't he? So he's been jumped there.
He's been undercut, yeah.
Okay, there's Maciej Młynek himself running in 8th position. He has been undercut by Stefan Royal. I think Frelick was already just about ahead in the order. Has Royal undercut both of them, actually? Because I think Frelick... Definitely during the first stint, Frelick was ahead of Royal. And I think that Stefan Roth there has jumped ahead of Frelick. And he's now going to be on the back of Sergio Fletcher.
Yeah, Soltero, by the way, he's used, I think, 2 medium compounds, so he's definitely coming in again. So we should see our top 3 pit. The interesting thing is Maggio and Machete also will come out, presumably, behind Młynek and Krop are, essentially, unless one or both of them has got to stop again. We know Młynek is going to the end. So it could be the likes of, Fletcher, Royal, Frelick and Młynek. They've got to clear all of those before they can even think about fighting Grankvist. So at the moment, you've got to say there may be a temptation for Machete or I think Machete is definitely chewing for his tyres, but Maggio might have that small temptation of maybe trying to stay out, as we see Royal all over the back of Fletcher, and he's surely going to mount a challenge here.
I'm still expecting Fletcher to pit, I think. Here's Royal going past Sergio Fletcher on the straight and gets that done. He's up into 5th position, and Fletcher stays out, but I think he will have to pit once more in this one. I think right now the order's looking good for Grankvist, possibly even Grankvist, Royal, Frelick at this point. But of course, Maggio and Machete, once they make their pit stop, will be on the attack and catching up to Szymon Frelick. Currently the order is Maggio, followed by Machete, Oscar. Why do I keep calling him Oliver? Oscar Soltero, 3rd position. Then Jan Grankvist, Stefan Roll, Sergio Fletcher, Szymon Frelick, Maciej Młynek, Moritz Krop, and Jarl Tyen, the top 10. I think Tyen needs to stop again as well. The driver restarted from the very back of the grid, and so does Moritz Krop, come to think of it.
Yeah, what is it about Oscar? Such an uncommon name for F1 drivers, isn't it, Caitlin?
Yeah, I can't think of any other Formula 1 driver who has ever been called Oscar, aside from the current championship leader, of course. Anyway, onto the back straight they go. Shimon Frelick will open the rear wing and try to get past Sergio Fletcher this time. And he'll bring Maciej Winnick a bit closer as well, because he also has the DRS courtesy of Shimon Frelick. But it's Frelick who gets through now. And Fletcher comes into the pits, so that will be his last stop of the day. And he'll go onto another set of medium tyres, I presume.
Almost certainly, yeah. And that's got to be his best play to try and challenge for some decent points at the end of this race. We'll see Jarl Tyne again running long on, I presume, the hard tyre, so he's probably going for softs at the end, essentially. He has gotten up to 10th, but Robin Pansaris has breezed past him there. Fastest man in the final sector, Thomas Vack, interestingly, who we saw struggling early on. He's in 12th at the moment and flying along to try and catch Pascal Pollens for 11th then. But meanwhile, our two leaders, Maggio in the 1:12.7s, Machete in the 1:12.9s, but it's real lighting up time screens in the 1:12.1s. Grankvist is still beating the leaders in the 1:12.5, so he's slowly starting to catch them. And yeah, Milnek also matching his teammate Ruot in the 1:12.2s.
It's worth noting, of course, the points in this series go down to 15th place. So the other points would currently be held by Pascal Pollens, Tomasz Vok, Riot Kilk, Sergio Fletcher, and Xavi Rose, the unfortunate Xavi Rose. Saltero now pits, and I thought I saw someone else coming in, but it may have just been Saltero. So he pits, Jan Grankvist goes back up into 3rd position. Ruot goes through on Saltero, so do Winnick and Frelick. Winnick has got past Frelick not too long ago, so I think he is now in contention for a podium. Possibly net 3rd, but we'll need to wait for Maggio and Machete to make their stops to confirm that. It's a short pit lane here. You cut out the final chicane and the first chicane, and of course the pit lane itself is not that long in general. You probably only lose a good 17-18 seconds coming into the pits here.
Milek flying at the moment. Fastest lap of the race, 1:11.8 as he passed Frelick there. So definitely he's going to be on the blower trying to get Stefan to help him out here, because they are in a podium fight essentially. But Stefan, there's a bit of personal glory here, isn't there? He is a former champion. He's not just going to roll over for Maciej Milnek unless he absolutely has to help the team.
I said at the start of the year, this is a stacked lineup between the two Holland Racing Team cars. Maciej Winnick and Stefan Ruot, both former race winners. Ruot, a former champion. Maciej, I think, could have been a champion had he raced a little bit more. He's actually missed a few seasons coming into this one. But I've always said that Maciej, if he puts his mind to it, can be a future champion. Moritz Kropp now into the pits from 9th position. From 8th, I think he was, due to Soltero's pit. And that will put Tomasz Vok back into the top 10. On Loic Mounier watch, we're still waiting for Mounier to break back into the top 15. I think he will score a point or two, but it's not going to be a massive points haul from the driver who came into this round 2nd in the championship. He's on the back now of Sven Schubert and struggling to clear him for that 16th position. There
He was stuck behind Schubert early in the race, wasn't he, Caitlin?
He was, yeah. Yeah,
it's funny how little things change at the back of the field sometimes.
He was in a big DRS train earlier, but it was Sven Schubert's rear wing he was looking at. I reckon he could draw it in his sleep now. What do you reckon?
Oh yeah, he's certainly turquoise is probably not his favourite colour after this point. It's Machete that blinks first. He had really started to drop off the pace a bit. He was half a second slower than Maggio the previous lap, as Grankvist now starting to set personal best laps. So Reuven is going for the undercut so that he comes out ahead of Maggio. Surely Alessandro Maggio is going to respond to this next lap around.
I think Machete needed to do that. He was losing time to Alessandro Maggio, and look, he's going to come out not too far away here from Oscar Soltero. My goodness.
His teammate ahead.
It's Robin Panzer ahead. I was looking at the car behind him, who is Oscar Soltero. But yeah, he's not too far behind his teammate Robin Panzer, who I expect will get out of the way fairly quickly for him, as he did before. Might give him the DRS again, but I'm sure that Reuven wouldn't complain too much about that. Maggio currently leads by 4.5 seconds over Jan Grankvist, but we're expecting one more pit stop from him before he can really begin that charge for the podium places. As for Machete, he's come out in 7th position. I think he will clear Panzer relatively easily as Maggio stays out. Machete and Maggio still have a chance of a podium place, but they're really going to have to push every lap from here on out. I think the HRTs have played the strategy absolutely wonderfully to get themselves into contention here, Ed.
I think Maggio may be staying out an extra couple of laps. Either to go to the softs, he can't be trying to get to the end, surely, because he knows Grankvist will steal the win from him. He is the kind of guy that will absolutely try and go for victory if there's even the smallest chance of it. But I think even he's a little bit too wise to try that one. So I think we've got to see Maggio coming in fairly soon. But the only reason he didn't respond to Ruben Machete must be because he's trying to hold out for the soft tier.
I think Maggio will win a race by the end of the season. I'm not sure that today is going to be his day, unfortunately, but I think he's going to give it
He's giving a good go at it.
Every last bit of effort that he has. Although Grankvist is now just 4 seconds behind him. He was 4.5 seconds behind at the start of this lap, and it might just be the way that the timing screen is kind of accordioning about.
And he comes.
Maggio does come in now, so Grankvist will go back to the lead of the race. He will have about 5.5 seconds over Stefan Roth, and then it will be all about the chasing cars such as Ruben Machete, who has got past Robin Panzer on the straight, and of course Alessandro Maggio. Now, where does Maggio come out of the pits in relation to Ruben Machete? It's going to be close, of course. Machete still has to do the first couple of corners. He might be ahead of him, actually, or they might be side by side. Yes. And he does get ahead of Machete, but just about. Machete was right on his tail and was really gaining towards the end there. They both stay on the medium compound of tyres. So
and that was very risky from Maggio because a lap longer, he was trying to make sure he doesn't run out of mediums at the end of this race. But if he'd left that a lap longer, he would have come up behind Machete and potentially even had Panzer for company behind him. So, or ahead of him maybe even. So really, really well timed there by Valet, but yeah, Machete will be ruining that.
Yeah, for sure. Now we've seen Maggio's tyres, his pace on his new tyres, and we'll have to keep an eye on that because we know just how quick he is. Is there still a chance of a podium for Valet Esports and Alessandro Maggio today, or is it slightly out of his reach? Here are the second and third place cars, the two HRTs, Stefan Roth and Maciej Młynek. I don't think there will be any team orders this late on in the day, and you can see that Roth is not getting out of the way for Maciej Młynek. This is a straight fight to the end here. They will have been told, do not hit each other, and I'm sure it's just second nature to them anyway, to fight. These two have fought for championships before. I remember back in the day when FS1 was still known as Super Cup, they fought for the Super Cup championship while racing for Scuderia Basilia, and then moved on to HRT together. It feels right to see them as teammates. It feels right to see them fighting, and fighting for second place is a big old reward for them.
It may feel right, Caitlin, but is it the smart move? Because Maggio and Machete, even Soltero's to set fastest lap, they're flying at the moment. If these two fight each other, Maggio and Machete are going to breeze past Frelick, and these two are going to be sitting ducks then. So they need to pick one to disappear up the road, surely. And they've got no chance of catching Grankvist at the moment doing this. There we go. Finally, they decide to give Młynek the lead again in this battle.
But I still don't think that was team orders. I think that Maciej overcame Stefan Roth with the DRS and the overspeed there and got through legitimately. He'll have more DRS on the exit there because they haven't passed another DRS detection zone. Around the second corner of this lap they go. Can Roth stick with Maciej Młynek, or is he going to drop back into the grasps of Frelick, Maggio and Machete, who are pushing? This is going to be a really exciting end to the race. Maybe not for the lead. I think Grankvist has got it to lose now. But for second, third and fourth positions, I think this is going to go right down to the wire. There is Jan Grankvist, the race leader by 8 seconds, which is, to be honest, about the biggest gap that we've had at any race so far this year. It's been a really, really close season of GPVWC Super League. And after a couple of mistakes since those first couple of races of the year, this is going to feel fantastic for Grankvist. It's going to be basically a bit of a redemption arc for him. And
yeah, it'll be his first win since Istanbul, which was round 2, of course. He narrowly lost at Suzuka to Moynier, and he narrowly lost on the final lap as well to Młynek, He's, of course, second here, so another strong showing from Milnek as he is slowly stealthing his way. Well, not stealthing his way, he's absolutely putting himself into that title fight, isn't he? As now we see another title contenders, Frelick under pressure from Maggio. Surely Maggio, if he gets even half a chance, he's going to make mincemeat of Frelick here.
Through turn 2, he's got 11 laps to do it. He can absolutely get this done. Alessandro Maggio on those fresh-ish now, because he's been out 4 or 5 laps. Fresh medium tyres all over the back of Simon Frelick. He'll have to hold on for just a couple more corners here, I think, but he'll get him down the long straight. Not really the back straight. This here is the back straight if you look at it on a map, and he has a chance actually. I know there is a DRS zone there, but it's not normally an overtaking opportunity. It's just not long enough, and the straight itself is actually not quite straight. Through the DRS detection zone they go, into the hairpin, known professionally as Lapangla. I don't know
how much time he's losing, Caitlin, as Machete closes in, as he's stuck behind. This is critical.
Yeah, but here we go. DRS wide open. If he has any push to pass left, he'll be using it. And he goes through on the straight and takes 4th position, does Alessandro Maggio. And he now has 3 seconds to gain if he's going to attack the HRTs for 2nd and 3rd position, just ahead of him. Or should I say 3rd and 2nd position, because those are the order that he will catch them in. Ruben Machete now is on the tail of Shimon Frelick, and he has to do exactly what he's just seen happen in front of him.
Yeah, Maggio, let's not forget, seeking his first podium in Super League. He's had a fair bit of bad luck himself this season, as you think Istanbul, where he got disconnected whilst leading, Australia, where he didn't get to start from pole and then crashed out, and then Saudi Arabia, where he did start on pole, didn't quite have the tyre life to hold on to the podium on that occasion. But now he has got a brilliant opportunity, finally, the man who's let a couple of decent opportunities slip through his fingers, but he's been so quick, hasn't he? Suddenly that pace is going to come in handy. Now he's got fresh tyres compared to those HRTs.
Okay, onto the straight now. This is his chance. Machete puts the power down, gives it as much as he can, but I think he's going to be a sitting duck to Machete as soon as he opens that rear wing flap, which he does, and goes towards the chicane, and he pulls to the right hand side. He's not fully alongside, but he does go through in the braking zone. And up into 5th position goes Ruben Machete, the non-permanent driver, the top non-permanent driver in this Super League Grand Prix, is in 5th position and doing absolutely the best job he could have done for Adonis Engineering.
I think it actually gets worse for Frelick, because Soltero's now catching him significantly by about a second a lap, and he's got 9 lap fresh tyres as well, so Simon Frelick is really going to struggle to hold on to that 6th position. Soltero doing an absolutely fantastic job in his first showing for Epic Racing, and he's not really put a foot wrong from, 11th, 13th on the grid. He's looking really, really good here.
Oscar Soltero, Epic Racing team, driving an epic race.
17th on the grid, wasn't he?
Where was he? He was 17th, yeah. You can see it on the timing screen there, up 10 positions. He's done that through strategy and pure pace. And the driver who won the Super Lights race the other day is proving that he has every chance of being a regular Super League driver in the future, and a regular point scorer at that. He could still get in the top 5 potentially. Keep watching Oscar Soltero in the last few laps of this race. Well, I guess there are other things we need to watch as well, but Soltero will be one to keep an eye on for sure. And what a drive this has been, Ed.
Yeah, it certainly has, and could be the first of many impressive performances we see from him at the top level. He's sort of had a whole career in about a week in GPV. It's funny how long, they say a week's a long time in politics, seems to be a long time in GPV as well. But yeah, we see the lap times between the two HRTs and Maggio. Maggio and Ruben Machete about 0.4 a lap quicker than Ruel, but Ruel is getting DRS crucially from Milnek. So Milnek has been slowly catching Grankfist, maybe a 10th or 2 here or there, got the gap down to 6.5 seconds, but the HRTs are absolutely playing this strategically, and Milnek knows his best shot of getting a good team result is to give DRS to his teammate so that he can keep Maggio behind a few laps longer.
Okay, Stefan Ruel, 3rd position, chasing Maciej Winnick, trying to keep up with him with that DRS. They're actually about to lap the other Super Venturi of Jukka-Pekka Laulu, who has been rather anonymous today, but then again did turn up to qualifying quite late. And here is that scrap for second position. And Maggio is definitely gaining. He's less than 2 seconds. He's closer to 2.5 or 1.5 seconds behind Stefan Royal as it stands. Machete's looking quick as well. I haven't been keeping an eye on the timing screen in this race, but the gap is visibly shrinking. You can see them on the straights.
Yeah,
and there he is. That is Alessandro Maggio.
Yeah, 1.6 seconds, the current gap at the moment. Interesting, by the way, Moritz Krokbial time, both on the soft tyres at this late phase of the race. They're starting to fly around, and they're catching Thomas Vack in front of them by about 6-7 tenths a lap. And Vack, of course, is getting DRS as he fights with Sergio Fletcher for 9th position at the moment. So there's a very, very close fight there. There's also, by the way, Xavi Rost, after flipping early on, incredibly, he's holding on to the final point from Loic Moynier, who's about a second behind him at the moment. So there's a tense fight there, and then Sven Schubert is at the back of this as well. So finally, Moynier ahead of Schubert, but now he's got to make one more pass to get into the points.
I'd completely forgotten that, but you're right. Xavi Roos was absolutely on his lid earlier on, and is now in 15th position.
It shows never give up.
It does, it really does. I mean, I very much do not think you could do that in real life, but the joys of sim racing, eh? And Xavi has done a good job to recover from that. Right, Kilk, 18th position now, chasing down Sven Schubert, and he'll get him on the straight. Not only does he have the DRS and the slipstream, but also he has the distance slipstream of the cars in front, due to being on the left-hand side of the road. Loic Mounier still trying to get that last point away from Xavi Roos, and scored just 1 point towards his championship campaign, which is not what he would have wanted today. But that's the importance of qualifying. Here is Oscar Saltero, and his target is Shimon Frelich. Ooh, and that's a bit of a slide into the hairpin, but he's got the power down decently on the exit. He does have a chance, actually.
Bad lap by Maggio, by the way. He was 9 tenths slower than Ruel, who set his personal best lap of the race with the DRS from Milnek, and Soltero thinks better at that one, I think, and decides to go for a better opportunity on the exit there. Simon is running out of hard tyres here, and Soltero knows it. Sweeps around the outside. Job done. That's P6 for the Epic Racing driver. Brilliant from Oscar.
And I think Shimon touched the wall, actually, on the exit of the final corner, the Quebec wall, and carries on in 7th position. Soltero up to 6th. Whoa, that's a big twitch from Shimon. He's got to hang on to it now. I think it's starting to get away from him a little bit, and it's just damage limitation from now on for Shimon Frelich. Talking of damage, yellow flag out there somewhere. Who's dropping down the order? Loic Mounier just lost a couple of places. Was that Mounier? I think it may have been, you know.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Maggio, by the way. Much better lap for him, within 4 tenths of Stefan Rot now. As we see, this is what happens. So he's making a move right. Kilk then sneaks up on him after he passes Xavi Ross. Bit of a moment into the chicane. Oh, and he gets stabbed from behind Xavi Ross. So Xavi Ross just got caught out by how much Moynier was held up by the Red Archer, just appearing out of nowhere there. So brilliant from right Kilk, but more horrific bad luck for Loic Moynier.
It's just like the incident that happened earlier between Thomas Vogt and Mark Schluter. This time it's Mounier who gets spun around, and Xavi Ross, I mean, I know it's only his second Super League race, but he'll have something to answer for that one. Maggio is now right on the back of Stefan Royal, significantly closer than last time we took a look at this. And this is the fight for the final podium place, and potentially P2 as well, because look at where Maciej Winnick is. He is right there. The Super Venturi car head is not our leader, Jan Grankvist. That is the lapped Jukka-Pekka Lalu. But the fight for 2nd, 3rd and 4th is going right down to the wire. It would be amazing if that was Grankvist, actually. That would be a 4-way fight for the win.
This is the, what was it, a couple of years ago at Singapore, Carlos Sainz had Lando Norris. There's getting DRS from to protect him from George Russell and Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. It's a very, very similar scenario here, but this time Maggio gets a good run. Lalu well out the way. The valet has a little think about to move up the inside. Very late on the brakes, and Royal cuts the chicane. That's Maggio through to 3rd.
Oh, and he's forced him into the wall, has he? My goodness. As Royal rejoined, Maggio's gone into the wall, and he's slowing. He's definitely slowed.
That's Lalu. That's Lalu, I think you...
Oh, that was Lalu. My apologies. Sorry. Oh, I got really hyped up there. I think I thought it was Maggio because of the dark front, which you can see on the Valley as well. But you're absolutely right. That was Jukka-Pekka Lalu. My apologies. And I thought that he'd forced him into the wall, but there's a chance Lalu was just getting out of the way. But yes, Royal has lost the place to Alessandro Maggio there. And it's now Grangfist leading from Winnick, Maggio and Royal. And now we have to wait and see if Maggio can do anything about Winnick. Sorry about that.
No worries. He's certainly got the time to pass here, and Maggio really put them under pressure there. You saw Royal just had to brake much later than the car was actually capable of, and that really opened the door there. Now Royal may even have to make way for Machete as well. Don't forget about Soltero, only about 2.5 seconds behind as well. If Royal really starts struggling, there could be an opportunity, but you can tell any push to pass that Milnek has been saving up, these are the laps in which he'll need to use it. As we see, oh, so close to the wall for Maggio. He's not content with just the first podium. He wants that P2.
Okay, this is so exciting. Alessandro Maggio all over the tail. When you look back from on board, it's like watching a hunter catching its prey, just hand over fist, getting closer. And what's up, sorry?
I said it's like Jaws.
It is. Moritz Kropp, I think, just overtook. Or was he overtaken by Yartine then? It was definitely a swap.
I think he was, yeah, because Tyne was behind earlier on.
Munier is fighting with Royce and Schubert for what could end up being... Oh, they're not actually going to get any points, are they? But keep watching this. Alessandro Maggio, little wiggle as he tries to line Winnick up. This next corner is more important, the hairpin. If he can line him up here and get a good exit, then there will be absolutely no defence that Winnick can employ to keep Alessandro Maggio behind. Here we go then, and you see Winnick pulling right over to the left to avoid giving Maggio the toe. He's weaving all over the place. He needs to be careful that it's not seen as illegal weaving, but I think it's just about on the limit here. Maggio not able to get through this time around. He will have 2 more attempts because we are on lap 69 out of 70. Here we go.
If Maggio's smart, he'll have Milnek sort of pressure him with the DRS into using up his push to pass, and then maybe with 1 lap to go or 2 laps to go, that would be the ideal point to make the move, where there'll be no right of reply that Milnek can take advantage of. Like how close to the wall. Oh, it got very close to. If he didn't, it's still impressive. But nonetheless, you also see in the background Machete all over the back of Royal like a cheap suit. As Kropp has hit trouble, I think, in the first sector.
Fletcher's dropping down. Yeah, so Kropp just passed Fletcher. I think they were side by side and they may have been involved. And then Fletcher lost 4 seconds. So I think Fletcher is the driver who got off worse out of whatever has just happened there. But we continue to watch River Machete. Whoa! And that's Royal! Royal locking up and going wide. Did he dip wheels in the grass maybe? He's run wide and off the road. Now Maggio is on the back of Winnick again. Has another opportunity down the straight. Winnick goes defensive. Maggio catching. Winnick still weaving about to avoid giving Maggio that toe. On the exit of the corner again. Maggio very close to the barrier. And in the background as well, Machete breaking that toe from Royal behind him. Fantastic stuff as we go on to the last lap of the Canadian Grand Prix. This could come down to literally the last opportunity.
Yeah, let's not forget, by the way, Milnek was right in the midfield, down in 10th or 11th at the first lap. Took a bold strategy call on the 2 stoppers. This is what happened. We have Tyne and Fletcher all just coming together. And yeah, Fletcher coming off by far the worst on that one.
Tyne was very lucky not to spin himself there. That was similar to the incident between Fletcher earlier and Carlos Martin, I think it was. Here's Maggio. This is his last chance coming up as we head towards the long straight down the rowing lanes and towards the finish line. Out of the hairpin he goes. We're going to cut away very shortly to see the race winner crossing the finish line, but Maggio has 1 more chance. Meanwhile, Jan Grangfist has once again been imperious. The championship leader, the reigning champion, will maintain his #1 for the time being at least. Jan Gran crosses the line and wins the Canadian Grand Prix, his first win since the start of the season. Maciej Winnick is second. Alessandro Maggio can just about smell that second place, but can't quite cross the line in time. Oh my goodness, close finish there between Frelick and Solteris. Shady who
And
finishes
it's
fourth.
Simon that did it. Simon got to 6th by 3,000ths of a second there. That was Soltero,
Wow.
who's doing brilliantly, will feel gutted about that, but nonetheless, brilliant recovery from Simon there.
And we're going to see a replay, presumably, of what's just happened. So Soltero is ahead. Frelick lines him up. It's a drag race to the line. And he's going to just about snag it as they cross the finish line. 3,000ths, did you say, of a second? You cannot get much closer than that. That is a width of paper. And we're seeing it now from on board with Shimon Frelick. Here he goes. And Oscar will be thinking, whoa, why did I not just have one more second of push to pass? I'd have got that. But anyway, that is how racing goes. And what a fantastic Grand Prix this has been. I've thoroughly enjoyed this one. We had weather involved in qualifying. We've had strategy involved in the Grand Prix. We've had action up and down the order. And once again, Super Jan Gran has come out on top, as he always tends to do.
Yeah, big win for him in the championship as well, of course. Stevens not there. Loic Moynier out of the points. Tyen only 9th. Frelick in 6th. All the main rivals by the wayside. And is it now Maciej Milnek that's the main threat to him in this title race? You've got to wonder.
Genuinely could be, because that was a fantastic drive from Maciej Munich as well. So that means that Grangfist wins, followed by Munich. Alessandro Maggio scores his first podium today. We shouldn't forget that. Yes, he dropped back a little bit, but he still finishes on the podium for the very first time in GPVWC Super League. Then it's Ruben Machete P4. I think that's a personal best for him as well. Stefan Rot is P5. Oh, is there's contact on the way into the pits. Then it's Shimon Frelick. Oscar Soltero, 7th on debut. Great performance from him, one of the drivers of the day. Then it's Robin Pansar, Jarl Tyen, and Tomasz Vok, who is P10 after getting up to 3rd on that first lap. Then we move on to the second tile, so we can see Moritz Kropp, then Sergio Fletcher. Great drive from Kropp, actually, from the very back of the grid due to that penalty. Fletcher P12, then Pascal Pollant, Chris Shepherd, Riot Kilk, who scores the last point. Loic Mounier will come away with nothing, at least provisionally, unless there are any time penalties ahead of him. Then it's Sven Schubert, Xavi Rose, the unfortunate Xavi Rose, and we got to wait and see exactly what happened to him on the starting grid, because I think that's cost him not just points, but maybe even a chance at a top 10. Then it's Luke Mitchell and Jukka Pekka-Laulu, who finished a lap down at the end of that one. So no points for the second THR car or the second Super Venturi. And Jorge Marquez finishes his first GPWC Super League race in 21st position. Everybody else who you see on your screen there is a retirement, so an unfortunate number of DNFs, but that's how it goes on difficult days such as this one. So we're now going to move on to the interviews. So if you want to know how it looked from your driver's point of view, then don't go anywhere. Cool. And we're of course going to interview our race winner and reigning champion, Jan Grangfist. Hello Jan, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks. And I'm not surprised at all that you're doing well, because you have just won yet another Grand Prix. Fantastic stuff. And I think that's your 3rd victory of the season, so congratulations for that. Not an easy one, of course, starting from 3rd on the grid. You had to clear a couple of people, but once you'd done that, it started to look relatively easy from there on out.
Yeah, honestly, I had no clue what this race was going to shape up to be like. People were saying I was going to reign throughout the race, but turned out it was only for qualifying, which was, well, interesting and lucky for me considering where it put most of my title rivals position wise. So, well, I was actually quite happy with the P3. I was just trying to play it safe because, I mean, in the past, every time it's been a drying up quali, I tend to not really put it together. So P3 was nice to start from, and well, the guys who started in front of me, fortunately enough, they practiced with us, so I roughly knew what the strategy was going to be like for them and what I was going to try for myself, and it ended up working out pretty well for me, pretty safe. In the end, I did feel like I was under threat from Stefan and like some Maciej. They seem to have really, really strong pace throughout the stint, so that caught me off guard a little bit, but I mean, there was just way too much of a buffer for me, so yeah, it was just smooth sailing from then.
Yeah, I think it was the second stint where you won that race, to be honest, where you went onto hards and kept the lead. How important was it that you did that, and was this always going to be your strategy?
Yeah, it was quite critical, to be honest. If Maggio and Reuven, if both of them just had somehow managed to get in front of me in their medium stints, I reckon the results might have looked even quite a bit different. But well, on the other hand, they also got quite a big help from the end of the stint, where they were able to utilize my DRS to save tires and whatnot. But yeah, I think it was quite critical to be in front of them, to be honest. And then what else? I mean, the hard stint. To be honest, I didn't really like the hard tires. I would have much rather gone on the mediums, but it just seemed like the most safe strategy to go on, and that was what we chose for today.
Very good. Now, Jan, I hate to bring this up, but I haven't spoken to you since those two unfortunate crashes in Saudi Arabia and Spain. It's good to see that you've picked yourself up after those and that you're back in the action and back winning races. Is it difficult to pick yourself up after something like that? How do you do it?
It's mostly just a mental thing if you get caught up on something like that. But to be honest, I always knew, even subconsciously, that the two mistakes that I did, the two DNFs, weren't exactly something that I was in full control of. So I didn't let it bother me too much, and I knew I'll just bounce back in the next race.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, congratulations. I'm going to hand over to our regular interviewer, Ed. So, congrats, Jan. Ed, do you have anything else to add for our race winner and our championship leader?
Only a small few things. But first off, congrats, Jan, because it's been a long time. Sort of felt like a long time since the last win, but of course, you have so many now that it's a little tricky to keep track. I think that's win number 8 in the career in total, if we add up last year's and this year's. So yeah, a lucky number 8, I guess. And yeah, it was a very, very well managed race. We were mainly focused on what happened behind, admittedly, because it was slightly more action packed and difficult to predict. But in terms of the championship, we'll move on to Silverstone next time out. You've got to be excited about that. That's another happy hunting ground for you.
Yeah, Silverstone were bringing upgrades, and most likely I'm going to use a fresh engine for Silverstone, because, well, the next 2 races after that, unfortunately, I'm going to have to sit out. So I'm going to try and have as much fun as I can for one more race before I won't be here for at least a month or 2. But yeah, it'll be fun for Silverstone.
Excellent then. Well, the championship lead, I think, has been stretched to 33 points now, if I'm not mistaken. And I think, yeah, Super Venturi's are now leading the teams, because it was a terrible day for THR, I'm pretty sure. Where I'm pretty sure Tyan only got a handful of points for 9th, didn't he? Yeah, so I think it's 5-point lead for Super Venturi. So happy days, yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah, pretty lucky round for us, to be honest.
Excellent. So I think we'll let you enjoy your 3rd victory of the season. And yeah, we'll see you in Silverstone.
See you then.
So then, as Jan Granqvist enjoys another well-earned victory, there's somebody else who has finished on the podium for the very first time in his GPV Super League career, and that is the one, the only, the Magic Man, Alessandro Maggio. Let's hear from him now. So we're now joined by the man himself for Valet Esports, Alessandro Maggio. Alessandro, first off, amazing pole lap. You could not have timed that later. You timed it so late that on race view, you didn't realize that the session was still going when you crossed the line by like half a second or something. So it had you 21st on the grid, which could have been a very different race for you. But as it was, pole position, you had the front row all to yourself. Xavier Ross had some sort of issue. We didn't know quite what that was. We think he either got disconnected or pressed escape by mistake and had to start from the pit lane. And you stalled. Oh, that is gutting. But anyway, from your point of view, it was you versus Jan at the start, and I suppose there's a bit of frustration with how the race played out because the two stoppers in the end had the edge, and the tyre wear sort of went against you a little bit, but you still made the absolute most of that strategy, you must be said.
Yeah. First of all, congrats to Jan. He did an amazing race, amazing, work he did in the spring break, and I'm so happy he's back on top. And I'm happy as well for my race because it's probably my best race ever, at least in GPV. Because first of all, let me tell you, my shoulders are absolutely shattered. I can't move an inch. This track is so like tiring, and like you only get a brief moment of relief on the back straight, but that's it. And keeping that pace, that lap time every single lap or 70 laps is so challenging and hard. And honestly, yeah, I'm very happy about how it went and the result that I got. Finally a podium.
Yeah, very, very well deserved. Let's talk about your fight with the HRTs at the end. Of course, you pressured Rural into making a mistake cutting the chicane, but Maciej Milnek absolutely brought the fight to you. You were nose to tail for all of those final 3 laps. It was fantastic to watch. What was it like to drive?
A bit frustrating because every time I went out of the hairpin, I could see him pulling away because of.
I figured he'd say that.
Probably, yeah. He was just too quick on a straight line, so I couldn't do much. I just dumped all my push to pass in the final lap, but I couldn't do much. And yeah, I mean, it is a bit gutting to have P2 just like a 3/10 ahead of you, but in the end, I mean, I'm still satisfied with how it went. Maybe I'll get P2 next race. Who knows?
Ooh, that is quite the prediction. Speaking of next race, Silverstone. It's a track I've seen you perform brilliantly at. Lots of fast corners, very challenging and technical in places too. What's the feeling from the valet camp? Because that podium means you can go there standing just a bit taller than you were before, surely.
Yep, and hopefully the car will be just as good as it was today to drive. I honestly felt very connected, much more connected than the other races I did this season. And yeah, let's just hope that feeling translates to the next track and to the end of the season, hopefully, because if that means that I can get podium every race, then so be it.
Yep, I'm sure there's more magical podiums to come, and I try not to show my bias in the commentary, but part of me was rooting for you, but also really, really enjoying the fact that it wasn't easy. You had to fight every step of the way in that one. So congrats on the brilliant pole, and congrats on that first podium. Brilliant day for you.
Thank you.
So then, with Maggio now leaving to celebrate that landmark achievement, let's talk from the man who had an amazing recovery today to finish P2 just ahead of him, Maciej Milnek. So Maciej Milnek from HRT joins us now in the interview room. Maciej, the race started and it was a really tricky first lap for you. It didn't look like it was going to promise much this race, but you absolutely got the maximum out of it with a little help as well, and a little help the other way towards him between you and your teammate Stefan Ruelt. Then a good day for HRT and a second podium in a row after your win in Indianapolis some weeks ago. So you got to feel that this was a day that you didn't leave any stone unturned. It absolutely went your way in the end.
Yeah, I think me and Stefan, I want to congrats here for P5 because it is a breakthrough for him, the result, and I hope we'll be able to fight together for top spots. But for me, yeah, first lap was a bit messy because I picked up damage while trying to go around the outside of Stefan, and then fighting with Sergio, which was, I think, too aggressive from my side and not necessary to do. After that, I just went into tire management mode. And this 19 laps stint on softs was crazy. I never did so many laps on the softs in the preparation. And I just continued being easy on tires, and it seemed like pace was there, and throughout the stints I was gaining time on people around me. And yeah, I have to thank Stefan for not making it hard to pass him in the last stint, because I wanted to try and catch Jan, and if I didn't and Stefan was still behind me, I would give him this position back. Unfortunately, he made a mistake battling Alessandro, but yeah, still P2 and P5, that's the best result this season for HRT, and I hope it won't stay that way until the end of the season.
Yeah, it's just as well you did stay in front because as we saw, you were just about able to hold off Maggio. We heard from his point of view the frustration of you just always pulling away at the hairpin because you had that better acceleration and the slight straight line speed advantage. From your point of view, so much pressure though because you're up against someone with much fresher tires and one mistake can open the door.
Yeah, that's true, but Laurent, my engineer, told me that Alessandro was using his rear tires much more at the beginning of the stint, so I knew if I can keep mine alive, then I might have a chance with him on the exits because of the grip, and I think that's the main thing that kept me ahead of Alessandro. The top speed helped a bit because I had slightly lower wing than Stefan, so had more advantage on the straights, and yeah, all those things just put together helped me keep Alessandro behind.
Yeah. So one last thing from me. You'll be delighted to know that you're now third, provisionally of course, in the Drivers' Championship. So it looks like Grankvist 115 points, Luke Moynier 82, you on 73, Sim on 72, and Tom Stevens 71. So it's very, very tight in the battle for third. You're ahead, my friend. So that must give you confidence going to Silverstone.
Well, I didn't know it was that close. I wasn't like, I mean, it's nice feeling, but I feel like if I can keep my ground, then maybe if Jan makes some mistakes, it will be possible.
Made his mistakes. You're asking a lot for him to make more.
Yeah, I know. It will be a stretch for him to do more. But I mean, there is still a couple of races to go, so of course there is a chance. But every race would need to be perfect from my side, I think, to have any chance to catch up to Jan. I will, of course, try because I feel like, I have a momentum, but we'll see what happens in the next races.
Yep, 9 races to go, and there is an awful lot of things that could happen before we crown a champion. So another great performance, Mathieu, and you're certainly impressing a lot of us in the commentary box and watching on the stream at home. So we'll enjoy your second podium in a row. I'm sure this is going to become quite the habit for you now.
I hope.
So as we let Mathieu Milnek celebrate P2, let's talk to the man who, I think another driver that's also gotten his best result in his Super League career, and that is Adonis's super sub, Reuven Machete. Hello, Reuven. Welcome now to the interview room, and another really strong performance for you. You've only seen you twice this season, once for Valet, once for Adonis Engineering, of course. You sort of ended up gaining a lot of places at the start of the race and then shadowing Maggio's strategy throughout, and you come away in the end with a very strong P4, one better than you did in Australia then. So, well, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's amazing, especially after I had misfortune in Super Lights. I think I could have won that race if I did a different strategy, but it's if, and yeah, I'm super happy with this result today. I mean, the first lap was passing one car that didn't start and passing one car, passing my teammate who let me go, and yeah, so I had only one car, which I made on the start, but yeah, very happy to be P4 with not much practice time with the car. I did some on the weekend, but today was like really only a few quali laps, and then just going for it, and felt good in the car. Still did a few mistakes, but was a good round.
Yeah, I saw at one point you were just absolutely gunning it through the hairpin and doing like massive drifts, like it was a Formula Drift car and not a GPV Super League car. So I suppose there's not too much to say. Robin was about as helpful as he could have been in this race in the other car, and there was a couple of chances he tried to undercut Maggio in that final stint. Did he think there was maybe a chance, or was Maggio just a little bit too quick today?
I mean, there's always a chance. If you saw the second stint, I could close up to them, but as it was a DS train, I couldn't get past Maggio or Jan. I think I had the race pace for more, but in the end, in the in the third and fourth stint, I had a bit too high tire wear because I pushed a bit too much in the first few laps. But yeah, happy to finish P4 as a reserve driver. Yeah, I think Adonis moves up to P3, and I am also gonna do the Silverstone round, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, another appearance for Adonis, so that should be fun. But I know, of course, what you're really practicing for is a certain other championship that's happening this Sunday that somebody here might have a vested interest in. That's probably not, but we won't name it.
I still need to start with it, maybe, but...
Okay, well, it's a good thing I reminded you then, isn't it? But anyway, congrats on the P4, Reuven. Thanks for coming to talk to us. Always a pleasure. And yeah, thanks for putting on a great show.
Yeah, no worries. Have fun. Ciao, ciao.
I think there's one more driver that wants to talk to us. Unfortunately, we might end on a little bit of a downer here because it is the one, the only, Alex Laho from Road to Formula. So let's hear what the Frenchman has to say about his very, very short day, it must be said. So Alex Laho now joins us. Alex, this conversation is probably going to be about as long as your race, unfortunately, in that it's going to be very short. Hello.
All right. Can I go back now?
Okay. Oh, did you not want to be interviewed?
No, no. I made a joke about the race length.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Well, shall we talk about qualifying? Because I can't remember where you qualified. Was it
P15?
P15.
P15.
So
Big bottle, final corner. Big
Oh,
bottle.
you did, yeah.
I went sideways almost. Ah.
Well, so nonetheless, you're running P11 behind Maciej Milnik, of course, in those early phases of the race. And then we come to, is it turn 8 chicane, isn't it? Where you just... What happened? Was it just a bit of a lazy turn in? You were saying that the car, you just really don't gel with this circuit particularly.
Well, yeah, more likely a skill issue because the muscle memory wasn't muscling around. I braked the same with the same force as I did like the previous laps. Perfect. I made the corner every single time. Apex. I do the same thing. I completely miss. What was I doing? Did the brakes overheat? I do not know. With the traffic, yeah, because I was pretty close to Maciej during the stint, like 4 tenths behind. So maybe that's one of the reasons why.
Were you thinking about the freestyle? It's academic now, but I assume that was probably what you were going to go for.
No, I was going for the two-stopper.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I wouldn't have expected that out of you, but you continue to surprise me. Okay, Silverstone next. I've seen you be blisteringly quick there. Do you think that's going to be better? Because it's getting to the point in the season where you kind of need to sort of turn things around. I think it's fair to say because things have not been going your way in recent history. On the whole.
Correct. First of all, please save me from this horrendous season. Secondly, I hope the Monza Arnon is actually going to be a very good wheel for Monday.
I did try and get you in another championship that I may have mentioned or alluded to with Reuven, but you said no, so this is what you get, I'm afraid. So I did try and help you, you said no. So save me from the season. I'm afraid you're just going to end up with nowhere to drive if that's your attitude.
Fight for poor performance.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say, man.
It's a good thing Flavio Briatore doesn't run your team. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's pretty close to... No, I'm just kidding. The head of this is my team boss. I shouldn't say.
Let's not talk about Sandeep that way. Anyway, so hard luck today, Alex, but you are so talented that if you keep at it, I'm sure Silverstone is going to reward you, unlike it did last year, but still, your pace...
Oh, we're talking about it with Alessandro, like, if we go to the final corner alongside... I'm taking you out. No, I'm turning into... Okay, sure.
And of course, Loic was the beneficiary of that, so he's hoping for history to repeat itself, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, we can only hope for the best. I've got like 1.5 weeks to get used to this wheel. And the new track mode as well for Silverstone. Hopefully it goes well. Need to lock in. Actually lock in now because...
Bonne chance, my friend, as I believe they say in the French part of Europe.
I've got insider info about Jan not doing some races.
Oh, well, he also told us that as well, so it's not so insider now.
Oh,
That the next two, I think he's going to have to miss. He didn't say why, but
yeah,
maybe.
correct. Oh, he's going to the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
He's
the
missing
Filipino thing.
Germany and Spa.
Ah, 2 races he
So
did
we are
very
winning
well
this.
at last season. So that's
We
at
are
least one
winning
place
this.
you won't have to fight for.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, from P2 to P1. Woohoo.
Yeah, I love that attitude. All right, well, thank you very much for talking to us, Alex. And I really hope, I'm sure next time I talk to you, it'll be in at least slightly happier circumstances and a track that suits you a lot better.
I hope so. Thank you guys for being here and see you next week. In 2
2
weeks.
I'll see you when I see you.
Alright. See you soon, guys. Enjoy your night.
Thank you very much, Alex. And now let's hand back to Caitlin Penny then to end the broadcast of what's been a pretty scintillating Canadian Grand Prix. The win since the early phases, you have to say, didn't look too in doubt for Jan, but some interesting insight. And of course, Maciej Milnek, and of course, let's not forget Oscar Soltero as well, both putting in really, really strong performances in P2 and P7.
Sure. I mean, thank you for doing that, Ed. Pretty disappointing to hear that Jan is going to have to miss a couple of races, and I really hope that isn't what ends up deciding the championship, because that
If you're
would not-
Maciej Milnek, I wouldn't see you complaining, but yeah.
No, but nobody wants to win a championship like that. Even so,
If he can still win it despite that, though, you know, what would
I
that say?
think he can. I think he can. But even
If
with
anyone
that being
can, it's
said,
Jan.
it's a fantastic day of racing that we've just seen, and I'm still very much looking forward to the next one. Thank you to Ed Hunter for joining me in the commentary box today. Thank you to Remco de Zeeuw for being the broadcast director and providing you with all of the sights and sounds. Thank you to all of you for watching along, for chatting in the YouTube chat if you did. And of course, thank you to all of the drivers that we just interviewed. Congratulations to Jan Grangfist on yet another victory. Maciej Milnek for continuing his strong pace. And of course, Alessandro Maggio, congratulations for his first GPWC podium. Alright, we will see you in 2 weeks' time for the next Grand Prix. Make sure you keep your eye out in the meantime for all of the junior category racing, or the other divisions that we have in GPWC. We'll have FS2, FS1, Academy and Super Lights in the meantime. But then of course we will be back in just 2 weeks' time. See you then.